Due to COVID-19, Committee of Adjustment public hearings are being conducted virtually through WebEx Webinar, an online digital platform, and streamed on the Toronto City Planning YouTube channel. Participants who registered in advance will be able to make their presentations to the committee using WebEx Webinar, which is moderated by city staff. Anyone wishing to view the hearing can watch on YouTube. Participants who registered in advance will connect to the hearing by phone or with a compatible electronic device and have the option of participating via video or audio only. Participants will be muted automatically upon entry. When your item is called, each participant will be unmuted by the moderator, one person at a time. Please mute your devices until you are called upon to speak. Those participating by video will be temporarily upgraded to panelist when their item is heard, and during this time your camera will be enabled. You will only be visible during your 5-minute allotted speaking time, and at all other times your video will be disabled and you will be reinstated as an attendee. Committee of Adjustment staff will share presentations submitted in accordance with the written submission deadline. Members of the public and applicants are not allowed to use the share screen or any other panelist controls during a video appearance. The host will remove you from the panelist role if you fail to respect this instruction. My name is Nancy Oman and I will be chairing this hearing. Panel members participating via WebEx Webinar who can be seen and heard are Zahir Bayat, Aaron Cheng, and Carl Nipfel. We acknowledge that the land we are meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and it is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. In accordance with Sections 45 and 53 of the Planning Act 1990 as amended, this meeting for the Committee of Adjustment of the City of Toronto is called to order. The Committee of Adjustment considers applications for variances from the provisions of the zoning bylaw that apply to the property, permission to extend or alter lawful non-conforming uses, and consent to severed property to create new lots. Anyone in attendance today who wants to receive a copy of the decision of the committee on an application must submit a written request by email. Please include your name, address, and an email address. Committee of Adjustment and the Toronto Local Appeal Body, known as TLAB, will be sending notifications and appeal updates by email. If you do not agree with the decision of the committee, you may be able to appeal the decision to TLAB or, in some limited circumstances, to the Ontario Land Tribunal. However, the provincial government recently amended the Planning Act and generally removed the rights of third parties to appeal Committee of Adjustment decisions as of November 28, 2022. Only the applicant, the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, specified persons, and public bodies, as those terms are defined in the Planning Act, are permitted to appeal decisions of the Committee of Adjustment. Appeal instructions are set out at the bottom of the decision of the committee. I will call each item in the order listed on the agenda, and where an application is uncontested, the agent or applicant may proceed with their presentation if desired. When the committee does not require a presentation, applicants are to advise the chair should they wish to speak to the committee, and the committee may ask questions and/or take the matter into committee for a decision. Each speaker, including the applicant or agent, will be given a maximum of 5 minutes to address the committee, and I'll comment when you're reaching the 5-minute mark. When addressing the committee, please speak slowly and clearly state your name and address, and please remember to confine your remarks to the matters outlined in the application. The applicant or agent will proceed first with a presentation of the application, and then individuals either in support or opposed to the application will be invited to speak. Committee members may ask questions of each speaker after they have finished their presentation, and when all speakers are finished, the applicant or agent has an opportunity to rebut only those issues that were raised by the speakers. This will mark the end of the discussion. The application will then be taken into committee for a decision. Please note that the committee may not entertain revisions to proposals at the hearing today. The committee may decide to defer the application if substantially revised to ensure the revised application is accurate and that all those entitled to notice of the application are informed of the changes. Are there any declarations of interest, panel members or staff this afternoon? Seeing none. Any files to be closed or deferral requests?
Through you, Madam Chair, see none for this afternoon.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Okay, the first item this afternoon is item 20, 525 Roxton Road. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 4 photographs of the subject property, email correspondence from community planning. They don't have any concerns. And we have 6 form letters in support, and that includes both adjacent neighbors at 523 and 527. Don't have any opposition speakers. Do I have the agent on the line?
Good afternoon, Richard de Oliveira, representing the owners of 525 Roxton Road.
Hi. Panel members, do you have any questions for Mr. de Oliveira? Mr. Bayat?
Just one, thank you, Chair. I think it's the 3rd floor deck that I was going to ask about. I think it's on the north or south side, or both. I'm not sure which. Perhaps requiring privacy screening. It's the 3rd floor rear deck. It's shown on Z17.
Yes, we don't have an issue with a condition for a privacy screen on each side.
Perfect, thank you.
So would that be the north and south side then, Mr. de Oliveira, or which sides are we putting it on?
Correct, the north and south.
Okay, thanks. Any other questions, panel members? Mr. Nipfel?
I just want to confirm that you don't have a variance for landscaping. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else have a question? All right, we're ready to take it into committee. Is there anything that you would like to add? Mr. de Oliveira, before we go into committee?
No, I think it's a clear application. It's within the existing footprint, and it fits within the research we've done for the neighborhood.
Okay, panel members, we're in committee. Mr. Bayat?
Thank you, Chair. I think, as Mr. de Oliveira says, this is a very straightforward application. I have no concerns with it. There are no conditions that I can see other than the condition of privacy screens on the 3rd floor deck on the north and south sides.
Okay, do I have a seconder for that motion? Mr. Cheng, so motion to approve, including a condition, north and south side screening on the 3rd floor rear deck. Moved by Mr. Bayat, seconded by Mr. Cheng. All in favor? That carries unanimously. Item number 21, 40 Hendrick Avenue. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. We have 1 photograph of a tree on the property, 21 form letters in support, and that includes 30 and 44, both adjacent neighbors. I do not show any opposition speakers. Okay, do I have the agent on the line?
My name is Tasneem Badruzama. I'm the agent for the owners of 40 Hendrick. If there are any questions, I'm happy to answer those.
Okay, panel members, do you have any questions for the agent? Mr. Bayat and then Mr. Nifo.
Thank you. I was just going to ask about the, I think it's variance number, bear with me. Variance number 5, the soft landscaping in the rear.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, sorry, that's the front yard, not the rear yard. Can you just speak to that? I'm not sure if that's an existing condition.
Now, we've requested a slight reduction in the front yard soft landscaping area from what the existing condition is. The front yard landscaping as it stands right now, there's no room for garbage refuge. Access to the side yard, it requires going up a couple of steps, so it's not really convenient for the bin location. So we proposed a slight reduction to allow for the bins to be placed there.
Would that be, I see, I'm just looking at the site plan. I see there's a rebuilt walkway. Is that part of the project that you'll be?
Yes. So that's an existing walkway, which we are going to rebuild.
Is there anywhere else that you may be putting in hardscape that could be permeable materials being applied to that?
We are happy to have, where it is proposed brick pavers, we're happy to have all of that be permeable material.
So could we perhaps put in a condition that the rebuilt walkway, you've got two rebuilt walkways. There's one to the top end of the, I'm not sure what direction I'm looking, oh, sorry, at the south end and the north end of the front.
Mm-hmm.
We have both of those?
I think for the portion of the rebuilt walkway on the south, which is within the property of 40 Hendrick, we're happy to have that be permeable.
And the one to the north?
To the
And
north,
stairs?
I think it's just the stairs. There's no walkway beyond on the lot of 40 Hendrick.
But it indicates on there that it's a rebuilt one. It's already been rebuilt or will be rebuilt?
The rebuilt portion of the walkway is on the public boulevard.
Oh, it's on the public one.
Yeah.
And the other one, the one on the south side's on completely?
It's partially on the public boulevard and partially on 40 Hendrick. What's within 40 Hendrick, we're happy to have that be permeable pavers.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Not to harp on this, but the one on the public walkway, it says you're rebuilding it, are you?
Yes.
So why can't you put that as permeable pavers also?
If we're required to, we can.
I'm sorry, it'll require,
If we're required to, we can.
right, you're rebuilding it anyway, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Mr. Nipfel?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. The area that's noted as brick paving, you said it's for the storage of garbage containers. Will they be out there all the time, or are they sitting out there all the time, or do they come out at collection time?
At collection time.
So where are they? They're kept in the rear yard, and then they're just wheeled out there for collection time?
In the side yard, it's still not an easy access, but yeah, we're okay with having them in the side yard for the remainder of the time and have them in the front yard for the
Okay,
collection time.
that's great. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions, panel members? Okay, we have no further questions. We're ready to take it into committee. Is there anything you want to add that's not in the submissions?
I think that's about it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we're in committee, panel members. Mr. Bayat.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to move a motion to approve the application. There are no other conditions other than the one that we'd apply now, that the walkways in the front of the house, as displayed on Z2, be produced out of permeable materials.
Okay, do I have a seconder for that motion?
Excuse me. She also indicated that she would be open to the brick paving in the patio at the front being permeable pavers.
Which one's that, Carl?
If you look at there's a soft landscape area in front of the house, and then there's a rectilinear area that's got hatch marks on it, and it's noted as brick pavers. And when you were talking to her, she said she'd be happy to make that permeable pavers.
Terrific. Sounds good.
Okay, so plus the front patio?
The front with the front brick pavers are going to be, that area will be paved in permeable pavers.
Sabrina, you got that? Okay. All right, so with that added to the previous condition for permeable pavers on the rebuilt portions in the front, moved by Mr. Bayat and seconded by Mr. Cheng. All in favor? That carries unanimously. Item number 22. 285 to 297 Danforth Avenue, plus 60 to 80 Bowden Street. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, covering letter from the agent, an arborist report, and a tree preservation plan from Kuntz Forestry Consulting, planning rationale from the agent. We have staff reports from forestries asking for condition number 1, planning center report basically supporting the application. We have a letter recommending approval from the executive director of the Housing Secretariat, and we have support from More Neighbors Toronto, several people that did not provide addresses, residents on Ingham, Aldwych, Chester, Bowden, Dearborn, as well as 2 form letters in support from number 39 and 37 Bowden Street. Okay, I do have some speakers listed. I'm not sure if, I'll have to check with 2 of them whether they want to speak or not. Okay, do we have the agent on the line?
Graham, you've been unmuted.
And applicant. Hello, can you hear me?
Yep, I can. If I could have your name for the record, and then I'm just going to go to the well, I'm not sure if there is any opposition here or not.
Certainly. My name is Graham Asquith. I will be the representative for Wood Green Community Services, who is the applicant and owner for the subject property.
Okay, thanks. Can we go to the second one? I'm assuming they're either listening or in support, but I'm not sure.
Hi, Amy, you've been unmuted, and could you confirm whether you're speaking in opposition or support?
Support.
Okay, do you want to just go ahead then? I just need you to state your name and address for the record before you, you briefly let us know why you're in support.
Sure. I'm the stakeholder of 283 Danforth Avenue. We're the adjacent property, residential commercial. My name's Amy Chow. We are in support of this project. I think it's a very viable and very relevant project to be done, especially in this juncture in our time, to help seniors that are requiring assistance, and also the density for the Danforth. I think this will set some precedents and add more vitality back into our neighborhood. So and I must say, Wood Green has been very accommodating in answering our questions, my husband and I, who are the stakeholders, and making sure that our questions and concerns, keeping an open communication. They've been very forthright in the plans right from the beginning. We took advantage of finding out about this very early on. And when we reached out to Wood Green, it was step by step keeping us involved. And the speaker, Graham, has also been very forthright in keeping us involved as well with any concerns that we have and our tenants. So we are looking forward to this development moving forward.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Could I have Michael?
Michael, you've been unmuted, and you may turn on your video.
It's just turning on.
Hi, Michael. Are you in support of this application?
I said interest on the. I don't want to.
So yeah, I don't know if
say-
you even want to speak, so I'm just checking whether
Yeah, I think overall, definitely in favor. I just have a couple kind of questions that I'd like on the record.
Okay, do you want to go ahead and give us the 2 questions or concerns now then?
Sure, absolutely. So my name is Michael Speda. I live at 57 Bowden Street, which is directly across from the alley and in kind of right at where the intersection of Bowden and the alley where the proposed project is going to be. Obviously, I've heard a lot of good things about Wood Green, and kind of some friends who work in development and that have spoken very positively about them. So that kind of assuaded a lot of kind of maybe other concerns. My kind of big question and concern is just in regards to the traffic management plan. There's already a lot of traffic at Bowden and Danforth. There's a lot of deliveries that happen into the alley, and already not infrequently the road gets blocked by big trucks. And like there's a lot of backup, and not infrequently I can't get my car out if I'm parked on the street on Bowden. And similarly, there was construction at 59C in the alley over the summer, and there were times where really couldn't you get out onto Danforth from BOWDEN and couldn't find parking either. So just in terms of what the plan is for that, what the plan is for parking for all the people who are going to be working on the project, just to ensure that the people who live in proximity to the project are still able to like access their homes and able to get around easily and safely.
Okay, appreciate you expressing those concerns. Just want to let you know that this committee, that's not our jurisdiction to deal with. We don't have a transportation report, but I will ask the agent to briefly touch on it, and then maybe he can offline also have conversations with you at some point, okay? Okay, can I go to the third speaker?
Malcolm, you've been unmuted.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
I can. I just need your name and address for the record, and I'm showing you as being in support.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, my name is Malcolm Kennedy, and I live at 33 Fairview Boulevard, so that's about 4-minute walk away, just around the corner.
And just very briefly why you're in support.
Yeah, I just I like the fact that they're keeping part of the church in this project, and most importantly, I just think the neighborhood is in desperate need of more density. It's a neighborhood with a lot of great amenities and services, but that has completely been left out of new densification for decades. And I think this is a great opportunity to kind of set a better precedent for density in the neighborhood, as well as to obviously provide a ton of much needed housing for these specific seniors. And I'd be very happy to see this go in. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. If we can go back to the agent, that'd be great. Mr. Asquith, are you there?
Yep.
Okay, well, it looks like you've got a lot of support, but if you could just very, very briefly touch on to the transportation that Michael raised, and then maybe just confirm that you can speak with him offline about this if he has other concerns.
Certainly, yeah. It sounded, Mike, as if your concerns were mostly pertaining to construction management and the traffic during construction. As we're still in the preliminary early stages of planning the project, we haven't hashed out our full traffic management plan or construction management plan during that time. We aren't anticipating any major road closures along Danforth or BOWDEN. There may be temporary occupancy of BOWDEN, as well as closure of the southern lane for short periods of time, but no extended closures are anticipated at this time. As for parking for those working on the site, they'll be contained to the site itself or the Green P parking to the northwest of the site there, to the north there. As for actual traffic management for the population who will be living there, due to their age of senior living, as well as the public transit in close proximity, we're not expecting any undue load to the neighboring streets.
Okay.
I'd be happy to discuss further offline.
Panel members, do you have any questions for the agent? Mr. Nipfel?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Mr. Asquith, looking at the site, it appears that the people on BOWDEN 59, 59A, and 71, and the following people on Dearborn 110, 106, 102 are the most impacted by the development, if there is to be any negative impact. I'm interested to know whether you've had personal conversations with them, because I noticed that none of those addresses are in your letters of support.
I myself have not. Wood Green Community Services, however, has had an extensive community engagement plan. We have held multiple community meetings, outreach events, as well as a door knocking campaign, which I know those addresses were reached out to, both in person as well with letters.
As you get into more detailed considerations which might actually impact those people, would you give us an undertaking that you would specifically talk to the people at those addresses? Because the project has a lot to offer, but those particular property owners are the ones most directly impacted.
Yes, certainly. As we get closer to building permit, our construction management plan would become more fleshed out, which at that time we will always reach out to any impacted parties. In this case, it would be the neighbors that you have mentioned there along the southern and eastern extents of the site. But as more developments in our construction management plan develops, we're always more than happy to be reaching out and notifying what impacts there will be.
The only other comment I'd like to make is in your submitted material, which is very good, by the way, you indicate that you're relying on the transition from the larger building that you're proposing to the smaller buildings that are located to the south, that the transition is facilitated by an open laneway that isn't being built on presently, but might be subject to future expansion. And I'd like to suggest that if you do in fact expand into that area in the future, that you keep in mind that the transition to the properties to the south needs to be considered in that addition.
Certainly, yes. As well, during our initial planning studies and architectural planning, I believe you're referring to the rear setback there. That's
right.
About 6.4 meters.
Yeah.
So we've allowed for adequate space that if that were ever to be developed, the rear angular plane could be accommodated without any variances needed. So we've left more than adequate space there so that
That's great.
there won't be any shadows projected onto neighbors if it were ever to be developed in the off chance.
Thank you.
Any other questions, panel members? Okay, Mr. Asquith, we're ready to, did you have another question, Carl, or did you just have?
No, I'd like to move a motion.
Oh, okay, I was just gonna see if there was anything Mr. Asquith wanted to add before we make a motion on this, go into committee.
I would just like to quickly thank city staff who've worked very closely with us throughout the development process in early stages. A lot of these variances were closely put forward with their recommendations in mind. As well, I just want to thank all the support from the surrounding community members, both in person as well as today.
Okay, thank you. All right, Carl, we're in committee, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'd like to move approval of the application subject to forestry condition number 1. I think this is an admirable project. As one of my colleagues mentioned in an earlier item in this meeting, it's nice to see historical buildings incorporated into new development because we too often are losing that historical footprint. It's much easier to build if you don't try to do that kind of integration, but hats off to the applicant. In this case, the integration is really well considered and well executed. So I think this is going to be a real asset to the community.
Okay, and Mr. Bayat, you second. So motion to approve, including forestry condition 1, moved by Mr. Niffel, seconded by Mr. Bayat. All in favor? Okay, that carries unanimously. Item number 23, 100 Inglewood Drive. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, a revised site plan, previous decision affecting the property, an arborist report prepared by Central Tree Care Limited, presentation materials from the agent. We have ravine and natural feature protection are not asking for condition, and TRCA is okay, but they do require permits. And I believe there's no opposition speakers here. And I believe that most of the variances were approved previously with the exception of 3. So if I could have the agent on the line, please.
Hi, it's Lauren Rose. I'm the architect, 388 Spadina Road.
Okay. Stephanie Matt Viva is with you, right, to answer questions?
Yes, it would only be a legal question or planning question, but I don't know that.
Yeah.
If
Okay.
you have
Just want to confirm I didn't miss somebody who wants to speak in opposition. So, all right. Panel members, do you have any questions for Mr. Rose? Well, we don't have any questions. We're ready to take it into committee. Anything you want to add that's not in the materials we have? We did go through your presentation materials also.
Yeah, it's just this is for a fire escape, keeping the building, and so it's not like we can move the building over. And as we said, all the variances except 3 were previously approved. 2 of them were previously approved with smaller numbers. And then number 13 is new. There's no opposition. We're working with the next door neighbor who will be seeing this, trying to come up with something more visibly pleasing, but there's no objections.
Alrighty, let's take it into committee, panel members. Mr. Nifel.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. This is a necessary and appropriate small change to this development. As Mr. Rose indicated, he's working with the neighbor. I assume that's the person at 104. That's the only property that would be impacted by this construction. And the fire escape that's proposed is adjacent to a garage and a loading area and a driveway that goes to the garage. So I don't foresee there being any negative implications. I'd like to move approval subject to the TRCA condition.
Okay, do I have a seconder? Mr. Bayat, all in favor? Okay, that carries unanimously. Item number 24, 35 Hampton Avenue. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. We have an arborist report prepared by consulting arborists. We have forestry asking for condition number 1, 2 form letters in support from 33, which is adjacent, as well as 54 Hampton. No opposition. Do I have the agent on the line?
Yes, hello.
Hi.
Hi. My name is Lynn Houston. I am from 49 Oakcrest Avenue, and I'm the representative of the homeowners in this application.
Panel members, any questions for the agent? Okay, Mr. Bayat, you have a question?
Sorry, I was just trying to find the drawing of the third floor deck, just to see if there was any need for privacy screening.
It's actually to the north, so there should not be.
Okay.
But it's sheet A7 of the set.
A7, okay.
Okay,
Thank you kindly.
any other questions, panel members? All right, I'm not seeing any other questions. Is there anything that you would like to add, Ms. Houston, before we go into committee?
No, I don't think so. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. We're in committee, panel members. Mr. Nipfel?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. This is very straightforward. It responds, I believe, the proposal responds well to its context. It respects the attached semi, and it's a reasonable proposal for the community. I'd like to move approval subject to forestry condition number 1.
Okay, Mr. Bayat, second. So moved by Mr. Nipfel with the forestry condition. All in favor? That carries unanimously. Item number 25, 88 Glenwood Crescent. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. Revised site plan, floor plans, and elevations, an arborist report prepared by Central Tree Care Limited. We have staff reports. Forestry's asking for condition number 2. Ravenna Natural Feature Protection had a condition 3, but they're asking for refusal of variance number 1. And TRCA also has a condition. And 1 form letter in support, number 65 Glenwood. And no opposition speakers, just the agent.
Jeff, you've been unmuted.
Mr. Lotto, you there?
Excuse me, Madam Chairman, I believe Ravine has recommended denial of variance number 1 and number 3.
Sabrina, can you confirm, like at my notes, I have a condition number 3, but is that not the refusal?
It's problematic because there's 2 reports. I'm going by, just for, in case I'm
See,
wrong.
If you
I'm
look
going
at
by
the
report
first
number
one,
2.
it's denial of Committee of Adjustment application. It's like the 3rd condition, but the actual, they want variance number 1 refused. I think that's the only one, is that?
But if you look at the next one, which is the written report,
Okay,
it
yeah,
says
you're
deny
right.
variance number 1, and then if you continue, and variance number 3.
You're right. It is confusing when there's
It is.
2 reports. Okay, do we have the agent? Like
Jeff, you've been unmuted. Jeff, are you there?
Does he got himself muted? Or can you tell that? Like by you, but can you tell if they're? Oh, okay, so you can actually see what they're doing, cool.
Hi, Jeff, you've been unmuted.
Okay.
Jeff, are you there?
Hello?
Hi, are you Jeff? Jeff Lato, are you there? All right, you know what? Can we hold, like, if, try
Hello?
one more time, otherwise?
Hello?
Yeah, can you hear me? Okay, I'm gonna hold it down. I'm gonna hold this down, panel members, okay? If you can hear me, Jeff, I'm holding this item because I don't know if you can hear us. I'm not really sure what's going on. Okay, the next item is item number 26, which is 23 Fielding Avenue. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 7 photographs of the property, previous decisions affecting the property. We have a letter of agreement between the owners of 21 and 23 Fielding. And we have a staff report from community planning, and they're asking for a condition. And basically, I believe the agreement is a condition to build as per the plans submitted. Okay, do you have the agent and the speaker for this one? Yeah?
Patrick, you've been unmuted.
Hello? Hello?
Hi,
Yes, can you hear me?
I can. Can you state your name for the record, please?
Patrick McAuliffe. I'm the agent for the owner.
Okay, the only speaker I have listed is for number 21, but from what I've read, it appears that you have an agreement with them?
Yes, we do. And you have pretty well covered everything that I was going to say.
Yeah, well, what I was gonna ask you is, since that's the only speaker listed, are you okay if I'm just gonna go to her first, and then we'll come back to you?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
Thanks.
Martin, you've been unmuted.
Hi, thank you for this opportunity. Hi, Mr. Chair. Yes, as I said, we are in support of the variance based on the condition that was signed by Julian Martin on the letter that we forward. And so if the condition has been accepted, as they did, we're totally comfortable with their project.
Okay. Thank you very much. Panel members, do you have any questions for the speaker? Carl?
Very quickly, Madam Chairman, this application has been denied approval twice, once by committee and then TLAB refused it as well. Was the basis of those two refusals just the one objection, or were there larger issues?
Martin, do you know the answer to that question?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear very well what he was saying. I didn't catch everything.
What Mr. Niffa was saying is there was previous refusal here and at TLAB, and he wanted to know if there were larger issues when this item was before those bodies.
Yes, there was. It was a completely different application.
Okay. So they were asking for a lot more variances and...
Correct. They're asking for a very large extension and et cetera, which was affecting our property. And that's what we agreed on accepting. We understood their needs of having more space in the property. It's a small semi-detached. They agree on going up on and build a third floor instead of stepping up. And And if they stay and they maintain the condition that we ask in the letter, then we're totally comfortable with this.
Okay, does that answer your question, Carl?
Yes, it does. If the approval was tied to plans, are the plans that we have before us the ones that the gentleman that's speaking has seen and that the agreement is based on?
Yeah, I don't see any other plans that were submitted, Sabrina? No, so we only have the one set. We don't have any revised superseded plans, so it would be these plans, and I can confirm with the agent too.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Martin. Patrick, so if you can just confirm that these are the only plans that you've been working with the neighbor?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes, and those plans should have a revised date on them of May the 3rd, 2023.
okay.
We're requesting that the committee approve this item on the condition requiring the owner to build in accordance with the plans submitted by Residential Drafting Services dated May the 3rd, 2023.
So what you're seeing on the screen there where it says revised May 3rd, that's the right ones?
Correct.
Okay,
That's it. That's it. And further, we agree to having the privacy screen on the west side of the deck.
is that on the plans or do we have to
That's
add?
from the community planning.
It's a planning condition.
Oh, the planning condition, okay,
Yes.
all right. Any other questions? Okay, is there anything else that you want to add, Patrick, before we
No,
go
I
into
think-
committee?
I think that covers it all.
Okay, we're in committee, panel members? Carl?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. This application has had a long history, and I am pleased to see that through consultation, there appears to have been some agreement and some improvements to everyone's benefit. I'd like to move, and I think its current state, with the conditions that we're going to impose, I think that it's a reasonable proposal. I'd like to move approval of the application, subject to the screening as recommended by the planning department, and with the approval, with the development being continuing in compliance with the plans dated May the 3rd, 2023.
And forestry number 3. I believe there's a forestry 3 condition as well, Carl.
I don't
I
have
missed
that.
that. I don't have that.
Oh,
I may have missed it, but I don't have it.
I don't have it either. Did I miss it?
I may have
You know,
inadvertently added it.
Zahir, sometimes I write one in the wrong spot on my notes, so it's possible, maybe that's what happened, but staff doesn't show it either.
Okay, no problem.
Okay.
I'll second that.
So you're gonna second Carl's motion then with the conditions of tying to plans and the planning condition in the July 4th report. So that's moved by Mr. Nipfel, seconded by Mr. Bayat. All in favor? All right, that carries unanimously. Can we try the other one again? We're going to go back to 25.
Through you, Madam Chair, the agent was just having issues with his microphone, and I think he should have worked those issues out.
All right, let's give it a shot then, I hope. Okay, so we're going back to 88 Glenwood Crescent. We have plans of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, as well as revised set of the same items before us, an arborist report prepared by Central Tree Care. We have, this is the one where we have ravine and natural feature protection, asking for refusal of variances 1 and 3, and a TRCA condition, and one form letter in support from number 65. All right, go ahead. We got him?
Jeff, you've been unmuted. Jeff, are you there? You've been unmuted. Jeff, I'm going to attempt to call your phone.
Is that him? Okay, but that sounded like somebody, yeah. Maybe it's his audio.
Hi, Jeff. Jeff, you've
Hello.
been unmuted.
Hi, Mr. Lotto?
Oh, thank you, Madam Chair, committee members. I apologize for the audio difficulties I've been having.
No worries. I don't think we need a presentation, but there could be some questions from the members. And are you aware of ravine and natural forest features protection asking for refusal of variances 1 and 3?
Yes, we are familiar with that, Madam Chair, and we also understand that working with urban forestry, that they have put a condition on one of those items which we are willing to work with.
Okay. Panel members, do you have any questions for the agent, Mr. Bayat, and then Mr. Nitful?
Thank you, Chair. Just looking at drawing A8, this is to do with the rooftop terrace that you are proposing. You've got tempered glass surrounding the rooftop deck. I'm just wondering what the height might be, because it looks like from this drawing that there'd be overlook issues on both sides with number 90 Glenwood and also number 86 Glenwood. I don't know if your tempered glass was also intended to be clear or opaque. I wonder if you could speak to that.
Yes, the height of the railing is to comply with code requirements, but we have considered the overlook situation, and we are willing to modify the design of that railing so that it does provide privacy to the adjacent properties.
And would that be the at a height of 1.5 and materials being opaque?
Correct, sir.
Thank you.
Carl, did you have a question?
I did. I'm wondering if the applicant can clarify the ravine and natural features recommendation. Let me tell you what I read. It's the original thing. The original comment is to deny variances number 1 and number 3. But then it says further on, despite that, if we decide to approve the application, they recommend submission of a complete application for a permit to injure or remove privately owned tree, which I think is forestry condition number 1. You've been having conversations with them. Can you enlighten us on where they stand and what you believe they're trying to tell us here?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's 2 aspects. TRCA did provide conditional approval of the application on July 5th. But on the matter of tree protection that Urban Forestry have put a report in front of you on, we understand that the conditions for their approval with regard to building depth, building length, is for us to work with them through our arborist and to design tree protection to their satisfaction and to have Urban Forestry involved in the review of that tree protection. And that's a condition that we're very much willing to work with.
Okay, but I'll just weigh in here because the way I read this is the same as Mr. Nipfel, which is kind of the way it usually comes across, is that their actual recommendation is to deny the 2 variances, but if the committee decides that, then the condition goes on. So they're not saying that they're still working with you. they're asking us to refuse it, but then if we decide to go against the recommendation, then they want the condition put on. So I believe you when you say you're working with them. I just find it kind of odd that they would send a report like this. I would have thought maybe they would ask for a deferral while that you were working with them.
Yeah, we understand, Madam Chair, that the urban forestry is willing to work with our arborists. We've already submitted an arborist report, and that we would be submitting the correct paperwork following the outcome of this hearing, and of course pending the decision of the committee. But I do agree the report is written such that it does appear that their first choice is to deny the application, but they are providing conditions to go ahead should the committee support the application. If I may, Madam Chair, one thing that may not be clear about this project is that we are trying to preserve the existing residents. We're creating a multi-generational accommodation here, and that we know that we have, as of right, the possibility of replacing the existing house with a two-story residence. But we are trying to avoid that, and at the same time, we're also trying to protect the trees at the back of the property. We are not incorporating a basement in the addition. We are using helical piles as the foundation in an effort to protect the root system. We are doing what we can to protect the existing property.
Okay, any other questions, panel members?
Okay, one simple, the trees in question are all privately owned, is that correct?
That is correct, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, panel members? All right, Mr. Lotto, anything you want to add before we go into committee?
No, I mean, other than that, we did submit two further letters of support from 69 and 73 Glenwood Crescent, which are to the west of the property. They were submitted this morning to the city, and that's probably why they're not in your files. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, we're in committee, panel members. Mr. Nipfel.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. This is a very nice proposal. It's very respectful of the existing vegetative state on the property, and it's trying to respect and incorporate elements of the existing building. I very much support it and think it's a step very much in the right direction. It's a hard way to develop, but if it's successful, it's really quite remarkable. I think I'm reading this correctly. I personally don't see that there's any benefit in denying the two variances, because then the application doesn't go anywhere. As I read the forestry report, and I stand to be corrected by the Deputy Secretary Treasurer if I'm wrong, it seems to me that the other option they suggest is forestry condition number 1, which is working to injure or work with privately owned trees. And that seems to be what the applicant's engaged with the forestry department on right now. So I'm inclined to believe that this should be approved, subject to forestry condition number 1. And
Isn't it ravine and natural feature of protection, but is that actually their condition number 1? I'm just going back to the other one.
the other one doesn't have anything in it. The report number 1 just has an X. Meaning,
Yeah, but they're recommending submission of a complete application to permit or injure or
Number
remove.
3?
But that's an RNFP condition, not forestry, right? Okay, forestry's.
I guess I
Hang on, Sabrina's
really
weighing
welcome some advice from Sabrina on this one. I want to do the right thing. I'm just confused by what they're asking for.
Through you, Madam Chair, the forestry report dated July 5th for this item is actually requesting condition number 2 for the private tree.
Okay, and then the RNFP is this number 1 that they've written out, but I don't know that that's,
Well, no, it's condition number 3
right.
for this item, which would be, sorry.
But if you go to their report, right?
Well, they request the denial, so that's
Yeah.
condition number 3 with RFNP. And then they have,
They
if the
have-
committee is to find merit,
Yeah.
yes, then you would have submission of a complete application for privately owned trees.
Yeah, what I'm saying is that that's not necessarily numbered number 1.
That's correct.
That's all
Yeah,
I'm
sorry.
saying. Okay.
Okay, that's, in report number 1 has condition number 3, which is denial. And report number 2 has has denial of variance number 1 and 2. And then alternatively, their comment about protecting or injuring privately owned trees. When all is said and done, is there one condition that covers all that?
No, because, so basically, there's a forestry report, okay? That one has condition number 2, and then the other 2 are
Where is
ravine and
that? I don't
natural.
see that.
That's
Okay.
right above the first RNFP
Okay,
staff
yeah,
report.
okay.
Then you have 2 RNFP reports, so all
That's where I'm confused,
Sabrina's
yeah.
staff are gonna do is they're gonna write out what we see as number 1, if we're not denying the variances, right? But
Yeah,
it's not
okay.
condition number 1, they're just
Oh,
gonna
okay.
type out the condition,
Yeah, that's great. Okay.
okay?
Thank you for clarifying, everybody.
Alrighty, so are you moving approval then with those 2 forestry conditions?
Yeah, just don't ask me to repeat it all.
Yeah?
Carl, if I can just interject and add as a condition the rooftop screening on the east and west sides.
That's right.
So 1.5 meters and be opaque.
Sure.
Okay, so east and west side screening.
Rooftop deck.
Yep, rooftop. Okay, forestry number 2, we've got the ravine and natural feature protection, the condition that's written out that they're asking us to put in if we don't deny the variances. And then the screening on the east-west side of the rooftop to 1.5, and then TRCA condition. And with that, Mr. Nipfel moves approval. And you're seconding, Mr. Bayat?
Yes, I am.
All right, all in favor? That carries unanimously.
I don't envy whoever has to put that in the minutes.
Sabrina's got it all down, and and Billy probably, or whoever is doing the, yeah. Okay, item number 27, 998 St. Clarence Avenue. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, revised site plan, floor plans, and elevations, as well as a revised zoning notice, a red line public notice from the agent, as well as correspondence. This all came in our supplemental agenda last night, as well as a planning report. And we have forestry asking for condition number 1. Again, I have one person in opposition, and then I have a question mark person, so I'm not really sure if I have 2. In any case, do I have the agent on the line?
And committee members, my name is Arash Bahamin at 19 Merida Court, Richmond Hill. I'm the agent of the owner at this property.
Okay, sir, can you just confirm that variance number 2 is, you're amending it to read 9.26, and variance number 1, you're amending it to read 11.15 meters?
Yes, correct.
Okay, and you're aware of the planning condition?
Yes.
Okay. I do have an opposition speaker, so can you do a very brief presentation, please? No more than 5 minutes, starting now.
Sure. As you see, this property is located in one of the most dense areas of the Davenport ward, close to the St. Clair's mixed-use corridor with an increased housing demand. And part of this, our proposal is to supply a fourplex through an alteration to the existing semi-detached dueling by adding the third story. So we will have 1 unit per floor, basement, main floor, second floor, and third floor, a total 4 units. In order to achieve this and in compliance with the architectural and urban design best practices to provide the most standard and livable spaces, we are also proposing a partial 1-story front extension in the main floor, which functions as the vestibule and main entrance to this multiplex. Trusses and staircases proposed for the rear, second, and third floors to function as the fire escapes and means of egresses. Also, front balconies proposed consistent with the community design concepts with privacy screens to the adjacent semi for a better living experience for these units. Ever since we submitted our application to the Committee of Adjustment, we have communicated, reviewed, and worked with the community planning in details to make sure that we are in line with the intent of the zoning bylaw and official plan. And part of this, and per the recommendations from the planning staff, we have revised our proposal to mitigate 2 variances. So we decreased the height to 11.15 from 11.31. and reduce the exterior main walls from 9.42 meters to 9.26 meters, and provide privacy screens on the balconies as recommended by the community planning. Having these revisions, I believe that all the proposed variances are minor in nature, consistent with the general intent of the bylaw and official plan, and in line historically with the similar applications in the neighbor. And yeah, thank you, Madam Chair and committee members.
Okay, I'm going to go to the opposition and then I'll have you back. All right, do you have the first person?
Danny, you've been unmuted.
Hi, Danny?
Yes. So first, I just wanted to say I'm not necessarily against it. I actually think I like the project. I like what they're doing. The only issues I have is that we share an existing wall. We're semi-detached, and I'm not comfortable with. First of all, it hasn't been communicated to me at all what the plans were. I had to go ahead and search at the city. They're obviously wanting to go up a 3rd floor, which I don't really have an issue with. My issue is with the roof line that currently exists and that we share. And what's proposed on the plans is that my roof line would, I guess, connect to their new shared wall. And I wasn't comfortable with that. A couple of weeks ago, I spoke with the neighbor and finally got her. I'm not sure she was aware that this was even a concern, but I explained that I was not comfortable with this type of plan. If they were going to do this, they should have talked to me before, and they should have at least offered an opportunity to have another option, which might possibly be there in terms of raising both roofs, so that my roof is not leaning up onto their or up to into our existing shared wall. So my concerns are more that this is going to obviously affect my property significantly, because we are semi-detached, and I just haven't gotten anything proper from the representative or the agent, other than potentially the roof line could be raised, but that would require going to further permits and maybe committee of adjustment again. So again, not against the project, just against the fact that how it's gone, and that I'm not really informed how this is going to affect my property.
All right, thank you for bringing your concern forward. We'll have him speak to that, although private party wall agreements are not under this committee's jurisdiction, but we do take a serious look at when semis are involved. So we'll have the agent speak to this. after I hear from the next person. Panel members, do you have any questions for the speaker? Okay, seeing none. Thank you, Danny.
Brandy, you've been unmuted.
Hello, good day. My name is Brandy Anisanya, and I live at 998 St. Clarence Avenue West. I'm talking in opposition for this item. Just as the last speaker said, like, it will affect their property, being as like you'll have one side that looks completely different from the rest of the unit, as well as when I look at the other units all along the same street, I can't see how the additions, especially the one that's supposed to be in the front, like, is that going to remove the trees that are there? Because we have a nice set of trees in the front yard. As well as I have an elderly couple that lives next door to us. This whole, particular building project seems like it will be detrimental to both the elderly couple that lives next door, as well as my neighbor that lives in the unit beside it. So I'm not sure how this is going to work out. It doesn't seem very functional to me.
Okay, panel members, any questions of the speaker? Okay, seeing none. Thank you very much for your input. Mr. Bahauman?
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for the comments and concerns. As far as goes to the first speaker's concerns regarding the party wall and the way that we're going to configure this roof, we are in the process of the detailed architectural and engineering plans preparation in terms of the roof modifications. So there are some aspects to this issue. One aspect is the materiality, the way that we choose the material being consistent with the general concept of the exterior design of this house, being consistent with the both community and also the neighbor at number 1000. And another aspect of it goes to the engineering wise of it, which we are now developing detailed engineering plans, structural plans to provide the best design as far as goes to this configuration of this new ceiling, raised roof and ceiling. And the rest of it really goes to the building code and building permit review, which we can definitely address all the concerns that the party wall and the neighbors may have. And in terms of the second speaker's concerns, so we are not removing any trees, although we have some conditions from urban forestry for the clearance and any permits for the trees injuries, but we are not proposing any removal of any trees. And as far as goes to the site logistics and construction management plan, we are also in the process of preparation of a detailed construction management plan and logistic plans, and also a communication plan with the neighbors to be complied with the minimum requirements of the safety of the neighbors, noise bylaw, and all other aspects of the construction.
Okay, panel members, do you have any questions for the agent? Okay, if there are no questions, then let's take it into committee. Mr. Nipfel?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I have difficulties with this application. It is, after all, a semi-detached home. I find the way in which it's configured, the slope on the roof and the very high common wall, just very insensitive to the existing conditions. I noticed with both of the speakers that they haven't been consulted. They've actually had to go out and negotiate on their own rather than having the applicant, in this case, come forward and say, this is what I'd like to do. Can we talk about it? This, to me, is a case where the application should be deferred so that the parties involved can negotiate further. I'm uncomfortable with where it stands, but I'm really uncomfortable with particularly the attached semi not really being advised clearly what actually is going on. And I don't think there's any excuse for that. You want to build a change to a semi-detached, you need to deal with the person you're attached to. So I will not be supporting it. I would support a deferral.
Okay, anyone else? Mr. Cheng?
I just want to add that I completely agree with Carl. I think physically this is, I even wonder how the snow law is going to work on the neighbors. It's very inconsiderate to build something like that with a sheer wall. And I mean, how are you going to attach the top on that? Top piece on that sheer wall. There's so many things you need the approval from the neighbor. So I hope that instead of refusing it, maybe give them some time to further discuss might be a better idea.
Well, I agree. I think that it's kind of incumbent upon neighbors to talk to each other, but in particular when it's a semi and it's a shared party wall. So I would also be in support of a deferral.
Okay, maybe I'll make a motion to defer for the reason that we have discussed, and hopefully when they come back, the neighbor is fully aware of the new proposal.
Okay, Carl seconds, so motion to defer the application so that the deferral is specific for the agent, the homeowner to have discussions with the neighbor, the shared party wall neighbor, and hopefully come back with a better, proposal. So that's moved by Mr. Chang, seconded by Mr. Niffel. All in favor? That carries unanimously. So the item's been deferred. Item number 28, 24 Wayland Avenue. We have before us a revised Committee of Adjustment agenda excerpt from the application technician, copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans and elevations, covering letter from the agent, previous decisions, committee and Ontario Municipal Board affecting the property in order to comply, supporting materials from the agent, as well as presentation materials from the agent. We have correspondence in support from 29 Osborne, 23 and 24A Wayland. Correspondence in opposition from number 22, 7 signature petition in opposition from 16, 17, 18, 19, and 22 Wayland. And I have one opposition speaker. And I believe that's everything. We have one variance before us. Do I have the agent on the line?
Representing the owner of the property.
Hi, also, okay, staff's already got the, Sabrina, was that the only, where am I? No, I have something, that I thought that we had adjusted the purpose even more. Because
Through you, Madam Chair, the property is in compliance with applicable law other than the matters of the eaves.
yeah, so I was back and forth, and I thought that, I can't get into my email, but I thought I had an email saying, or what do you think if we change it to read just the eaves? I think you were CC'd on it.
So we can just state to legalize and maintain the existing 3-story semi-detached dwelling with regards to the eaves.
Yeah, that's.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we're amending the purpose then, because I think there was some confusion from the opposition in particular that there were alterations being made that, wasn't in fact the case. It's just pertaining to the eaves. So, yeah, Mr. Bruno, so we are changing the purpose. It'll be what Sabrina just stated, not what you're seeing on the screen.
And that's fine with me.
Okay. So I do have one opposition speaker. I think it may be make more sense if I go to the opposition and then we address any other questions, because rather than doing a full presentation at this stage.
That's fine.
Okay, thanks.
Hillary, you've been unmuted and you may turn on your video.
Hello, I'm Hillary Adams, and I'm the owner of property located at 22 Wayland Avenue, the property abutting the subject property. I didn't receive a copy of the revised application or the rewording, so this is news to me at this time. The purpose was also, the description of the property was also incorrect. I just want to make sure that the subject is pertaining only to the eaves issue. We have a number of issues with this request and a long history with this property owner. Although we were initially consulted about this build in 2017, we were provided with incorrect information, and we have been not updated with respect to updated plans, etc. for 5 years. We've been relying on access to information requests in order to be informed as to what is going on with this property. So there's a history that has been difficult, has lasted more than half of my young daughter's life, and has come at a cost in terms of our time to deal with the illegal construction. And I say illegal construction because it is substantially built, and yet there's a notice of application by the City of Toronto to actually have the applicant remove parts of her construction as they don't comply with the building code. So I guess I can skip over in terms of my submissions. It is unclear what the requested variance is. I guess the requested variance is only restricted to the eaves issue. And, I continue to rely on my submissions under point 1, point 2, giving the history of this build. And then with respect to point 3, my submission is that the proposed variance is not minor. The applicant is asking to legalize a setback of the eaves that doesn't comply with the zoning bylaw. The intent and purpose of this provision is to ensure that the eaves are sufficiently set back from mutual property lines to ensure that excessive runoff from a roof does not negatively impact neighboring properties from a drainage perspective. And this is a genuine concern for us as the only immediately abutting neighbor. Marie Lee is asking for permission for illegal construction to be remedied after the fact, which is a problem. The overhang has contributed to a lack of proper drainage from her property, which has created, in essence, a river between our property when it rains. And I've included pictures as an example of what happens. Her backyard has never been properly leveled or graded, and I've included pictures recent pictures to demonstrate that it's never been properly graded or leveled. And in fact, there are makeshift sort of things in the backyard to try and assist in the drainage of the property. There's also the a fashioned sort of drainage system out front of the property. So an acknowledgement by the applicant herself that drainage is an issue. And this can't be uncoupled with the fact that the owner was given permission to build a house which occupies 0.85 times the area of the lot. So this, coupled with the lack of proper, proper leveling and of the backyard, plus this eaves issue, really has contributed to a lack of proper drainage that is affecting our building. We never had to unclog eaves before. What Mr. DeRuiter says that the eaves don't create an adverse impact. Well, he's never lived through a rainstorm at our house. Also, the eaves extension is not, contrary to what he says, similar to what previously existed. The overhang is much more significant. It actually is overhangs onto our property, whereas before it was more equal and for a very short length. So there's been a significant change that has really impacted our property. So in our view, the current impact and potential future impacts on our property are not minor. And you can see the former roof. There's a picture of the former roof on 24 Wayland and our roof, and you see only a short eave, third floor eaves on that property, and versus the current picture now.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Panel members, do you have any questions for the speaker? Carl?
Is your position that if the variance was not granted, which is the projection of the eaves, and the eaves were then to comply with the bylaw, that your situation would be improved?
Sorry, I didn't catch what you said. Is it my position that?
Yeah, if what we have before us is a variance that allows the eaves to project, and that's what we have to make a decision on. Are you saying that the projection of the eaves are creating a problem for you, and if that projection wasn't approved, it would be better for you?
If it was moved, the eaves were moved back a half a foot, undoubtedly we would have less of a problem because our eaves wouldn't be hanging below the applicant's eaves all the way along the property. They wouldn't be getting clogged. There would actually be more space for water to be absorbed versus when it's so close to the property line, we are short on space and it's creating this river as I demonstrated in the photographs. Okay. So in my view, moving it back to what is required would actually have a positive impact in terms of the, impact on the foundation and the ability to absorb the water from such a large structure that's really, overhanging our house to a large extent. And that is coupled with the fact that it's 0.85 of the lot size and the fact that it hasn't been properly leveled or graded. So all of these things together are contributing to this, in my view, a river between the houses. That
just so you understand, the only thing that's before us today is the eaves. We're not dealing, not to say that they're not a problem, but we're not dealing with the grading and other things. We're only dealing with whether the projection of the eaves should be approved after the fact. And your position is no, they shouldn't be.
That's correct. Okay. And I don't think you can decouple them from the other factors that are contributing to a lack of drainage on this property.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other questions, panel members? Okay, thank you very much. Julius, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Can you please speak to, I guess specifically the eaves and some of the other issues raised by the resident next door?
Yes, if you could turn to the presentation materials that I sent. That's the first page of it. That's the front view of the two semis at 24 and 24A. They got their planning approvals in 2016. They proceeded to build. And then about 3 years ago, number 24 received the order to comply to deal with a number of issues. And one of them was this eave issue. So one of the things that we need to do to address the order to comply is either cut back the eaves or seek a variance, as we are seeking before you. If you turn to the next page, if you can just blow up into the area where the eave is, that is the existing condition today. It's been that way for 3 or 4 years now. It's unfinished, but there is an eaves trough on it. The eave itself complies with the bylaw. The problem that we have is this 5-inch overhang. We are now 5 inches closer to the side lot line than the bylaw require or permits. And it's really because of the eave trough itself that's causing the problem, the 5-inch eave trough. So if it wasn't for the eave trough, we would not need relief from the bylaw. But we still need an eave trough. If you could turn to the next page of the document, actually, you could turn to page 6 of the document, sorry. One more page. This is a view of, this is the site plan, and this shows you in red the extent of the roof overhang that requires relief from the bylaw. So it's not the entire roof, it's just a part of the roof because there's a jog in the roof. And you can see that on the site plan, which is this drawing. You can see the conditions between the two houses and where the property line is. I can tell you that the house at number 22 sits closer to the side lot line than my client's property does, where that eave is located. You can see that on the survey. My client's property is 0.6 meters from the side lot line, and their property is only 0.51 meters in the front. If you can turn to the next page, this is the third floor plan. This shows in better detail the extent of the roof overhang from the third floor. Again, it's not the whole third floor, it's just a portion of the third floor at the front of the house. That's an issue here. And you can see clearly the jog in the third floor. And if you can turn to the page 8, which is the next page, it should be the next page. If you blow that up a bit, you can see the extent of the roof overhang. So the roof overhang, that's a scale drawing, is very insignificant. It's very small in terms of actual overhang. The objector had indicated that it was extending over her property line. Well, that's not the case. We are seeking a variance to allow for this existing condition eave with the eaves trough to be within 0.17 meters of the property line. My client has not been able to do this work on the roof and return it back to the previous condition because they were unable to get approval from the neighbor next door to allow for scaffolding to be put in between the two properties. And more importantly, to put protective cover on the hydro line that feeds to the house at number 22. They will not give permission for my client to do that. And that's required in order for anybody to get on scaffold to do work, to work on this level. You can't get to this level with a ladder and do the work. And so in discussion with the building department as part of this order to comply, in discussions with the city legal department, it was agreed that the best course of action is to file this minor variance application. Finally, just to indicate that all of the issues with respect to the order to comply have been addressed, except this one application that's before you that we need to finalize that part of the order to comply. So with this approval, we will meet all of our requirements and be able to get our building permit to finish putting in the siding on the south side of the house and finish off the roof. Roof eave, I'm sorry, the underside of the roof eave. Those are my comments. If there's any questions.
Mr. Bayat?
Just a quick question. Just looking at the drawing that's on the screen at the moment, you've got the eave overhang identified in red. Just below that, it looks like existing metal roof. Was that part of the original roof line?
Yes, it is. And if you looked at the photograph in my presentation material, you can still see it there. It's a metal roof.
Is at the moment, the eave overhang that you're showing above, is that in line with the existing original roof line? And
yes,
you just need to go, need to go over that.
So if you're in the same package of material, if you go back to page 2, you will see that roof condition.
And may I just ask a quick question? And I think part of the purpose, of course, talks about legalization. So is this perhaps an issue that occurred because the building permits weren't presumably obtained as they should have been, and hence we have this issue subsequently? Or
I believe the real issue is that the house, the roof overhang was built by somebody not in compliance with the permit drawings. And that they built it a bit longer than they should have because they assumed, they did not realize that the eave did not include the east trough. That's the technical interpretation of the bylaw. The word eave in the bylaw is not defined. And so there's an interpretation by the building department that the eave also includes the eaves trough, which is 5 inches wide.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions? Okay. Anything you want to add, Mr. DeRuyter, before we go into committee?
No, you have all the facts.
Okay, thanks. We're in committee, panel members? Aaron, did you have your hand up, or was that just?
Well, I mean, it's not very desirable, but it is very minor. If we just look at the the evidence shown on the picture and on the listing. So I think I will support it, even though I don't like how things has been unfolded, but the matter in front of us is quite minor.
Was that a motion?
Yes, it will be a motion to approve. I don't think there's any condition.
No. Okay, do I have a seconder for that motion? Okay, so motion to approve, moved by Mr. Cheng, seconded by Mr. Bayat. All in favor? That carries unanimously. I'm sorry.
Would we be putting the note in
Oh,
the minutes?
as amended with the purpose.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Item number 29. 103 Evelyn Avenue. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. 3 photographs of trees in order to comply for the property. Correspondence in support from 117. No opposition speakers. Do I have the agent on the line?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and panel. My name is Bevan Gray. I'm representing the owner of 103 Evelyn Ave.
Okay, good afternoon. Let me see if there's any questions for you, panel members. Zahir, did you have a question?
Yeah,
No?
yeah, just a
Yeah.
quick one. Second floor balcony. I was just looking at that, and just trying to get the drawing, but I'm not sure if privacy screens are necessary. Bear with me while I hopefully get to the.
I would argue that it is on the north side.
There we are. Okay. Yeah, I believe it's on the north side. I'm not sure if the south requires it as well. I'm looking at drawing A6. That's the east elevation. So it would be the north and south sides privacy screen. Would you be okay with that for the applicant?
I mean, I can't see why not, but like I said, the property to the south of us, the balcony is entirely behind the rear wall of the existing structure.
Okay, so it would be on the north side then?
If so requested, I'm sure we can do it, yes.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, Mr. Gray, anything you want to add before we go into committee?
Nope. Thank you.
Okay. All right, we're in committee. Mr. Bayat.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to move a motion to approve. I don't believe there are any other conditions other than the one I suggested is privacy screening on the second floor balcony on the north side.
And you're seconding, Carl?
Yep.
Okay, motion to approve with that condition, moved by Mr. Bayat, seconded by Mr. Nipfel. All in favor? That carries unanimously. Okay, we will now go into the next time slot. Just bear with me a second. Okay, item number 30, 243 Glenrose Avenue. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 6 photographs of trees on the site, presentation materials from the agent, presentation materials from the agent. We have email correspondence from transportation permits. They're asking refusal of variance number 8. Transportation engineering is okay. Correspondence in support from 241, which is adjacent. And we have opposition from 86 Hudson. And I don't show any opposition speakers here. Do I have the agent on the line?
I'm McCrow speaking from W&D Associates.
Hi, panel members, do you have any questions for the agent? Mr. Bayat?
Yes, please. I wonder if you could just elaborate on with regard to variance number 6 and 7, soft landscaping.
Yeah, so if we want to flip to, through you, Madam Chair, one of the sheets in our presentation, this would be the superseded presentation, the second one, and it would be sheet number 7 in the PDF. And then afterwards, we'll flip to sheet number 8, but we'll keep it on 7 for the time being. So the driving factor behind the variance for the front yard landscape is you can see that there's a dashed line in a annotation with the 7.02. So that is the front property line. And then there's a tree that will remain. And there's this, I almost want to call it, it's almost an architectural landscape feature where the steps leading up to the building entrance are more of a slab, and they're extending into the front yard slightly, again, just as a feature. And that's also shown in that front rendering. And then if we flip to sheet number 8, you can see in elevation or section, again, that extent and that projection of the exterior stair, which drives the front yard landscaping variance and also triggers the exterior stair variance as well.
Mr. Nitful?
Could we look at the site plan for a second? I don't believe, is there more than one site plan, or are we just, let me see, I'm on A1. If I'm reading this correctly, and it's a bit difficult because there's many overlays, there's a driveway that leads to the proposed carport, right?
Through you, Madam Chair, that is correct. There's an existing curb cut and an existing driveway, and the carport is proposed.
Okay,
front yard parking pad is proposed as well.
It says asphalt on the driveway that leads to the carport. Is that driveway that goes right to the carport, is that all new? And I guess my question is, could that driveway be permeable pavers?
Through you, Madam Chair, my client and his wife, Jeff Canson and Sarah Canson, the Cansons, they're on the line. I don't see why they wouldn't be in support. And yes, I'm just getting a text from them right now, if you don't mind me checking my phone, and they do support that asphalt driveway being converted to permeable pavers as a condition.
Okay, any other questions?
The second, sorry if I may, Chair.
Yep.
Second floor rear balcony, privacy screens on the east and west sides. I'm not sure if it's already included.
Do you already have privacy screens there?
We do not, but we are, through you, Madam Chair, happy to implement privacy screens as a condition to an approval of the variances today.
Thank you.
Okay.
And there is a report from Transportation recommending deletion of variance 8, which is the front yard parking. Is the front yard parking considered to be the space that leads to the carport, or is it, where on the site plan is the front yard parking that they're referring to?
Through you, Madam Chair, it would be underneath partially the carport, and that existing asphalt driveway as well, it's actually an existing condition. If we were to look at even one of the photographs that's filed as a front yard of the house, the carport kind of hovers in that front yard area underneath the carport. So that's where that bylaw, what would be a bylaw compliant sized parking space would be located. Recognizing, if I can continue, the refusal of this variance and my client's desire to move ahead with this project as a personal residence, we're happy to have that variance removed or a condition be attached to this decision, and then file through Chapter 918 of the Municipal Code the correct application to correctly and legalize this front yard parking condition and go through the necessary requirements. And I just want to add one last point on the parking matter, just because that is our only real comment, that no parking is actually the as of right permission for this property under the new bylaw 89/2022, which came into effect last year and predates this application. So this project can move ahead with the balance of the variances approved today and still be considered on-site, as we would call it in this profession, from a zoning standpoint.
Is the carport though related to the parking pad that transportation's arguing against?
Through you, Madam Chair, that's a good question. The carport is in part related to the pad, but it also serves as just a general weather protection or almost partially covered porch.
So my question is, if the carport was in existence and working, are there then two parking spaces, one in the carport and sticking out, and then the driveway leading to it? Is that two spaces or one?
Through you, Madam Chair, it would just be one parking space effectively. There would not be two spaces. There wouldn't be room with the size of the parking spaces, and we had originally only filed with one parking space.
Okay, so I don't want you to have to come back. If you apply under the municipal code for the parking space, then what you'd be doing is you'd be putting the driveway in anticipation of the parking space, and the municipal code might then ask you to remove the driveway.
The driveway and curb cut, through you, Madam Chair, that's an existing condition. I would only assume need to continue to have a mutual driveway to provide access to the rear along with the existing curb cuts, which for all intents and purposes, even if there was not a municipal code issue in front of us today, we would just continue those existing conditions. We're not proposing to add a curb cut, reduce the curb cut, or make any alterations to the mutual driveway. And, just to add to that, we also want to work with all the members on this panel today and find the cleanest way to do this, just so my clients and this family doesn't have to come back to committee. So if perhaps the correct order of operations here is to move ahead with the approval of the variance that we requested on the front yard parking, and then, following this order of operations, similar to a forestry matter, we just go with that separate permit following the committee's decision. We're happy to work through it that way as well.
Okay.
Mr. Bayat?
Yeah, so sorry, I'm not sure if I understood that correctly. So if we refuse variance number 8, but approve the rest of them, that would work, because it'll allow you to seek permission for parking pads subsequently. Is that what I understood?
Through you, Madam Chair, the way that the memo reads, perhaps it's best if we all have the memo in front of us.
Can you put the transportation report up on the
Thank you very
screen?
much.
Yeah, and then if you go down, go down to the end. Yeah, that one. No, go back up one. Yeah, you see where it starts transportation services? So the second page is where it kind of talks about it. Yeah, that one. Can you make it blow it up?
I'm looking at, if I look at the second paragraph, beginning recently, about halfway through, it basically says applicant should be advised that an approved variance is not sufficient to grant legal front yard parking. So even if we approve it, it's not sufficient.
But Sabrina, if I'm correct, if we don't approve it and they go and do whatever they have to do under the bylaw, then they have to come back again to get it. That's the only thing I believe would.
Yes, through you, Madam Chair, that's correct. So this transportation report states that even if committee were to approve variance number 8 for front yard parking, it doesn't mean that transportation services is going to issue a permit. But if they were to issue a permit, then, and you were to refuse variance number 8, then the landowner would have to come back to get that approved. Yeah.
But if we approved variance number 8, the same scenario, if today we approve variance number 8, and then they got the municipal approval, as the memo says, the one doesn't necessarily guarantee the second, but they wouldn't have to come back again.
That's correct.
Yeah.
So there's an advantage to us approving variance number 8.
As long as the applicant is aware that if variance number 8 is approved, it may not get a permit from Transportation Services.
Yeah, I believe that the agent's aware of that. Okay, any other questions? If not, we'll take it into committee. Mr. Bayat.
Thank you, Chair. I think I'll take a jab at this one. I'd like to approve this application without any deletions of variances requested. The conditions, I suppose, that we want to apply would be one, that the driveway be produced out of permeable materials, that the second floor rear balcony provided with privacy screens. I believe it's the east and west sides. I think those are the only conditions, really, the two that we would like to add.
Okay, so Mr. Bayat moves approval with those two conditions, and that's seconded by Mr. Nipfel. All in favor? Okay, that carries unanimously. Item number 31, 16 Bridgeview Road. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans and elevations, 4 photographs of trees, covering letter from the agent, previous decision affecting this property. Heritage, the archaeological section is okay. Ravine and natural feature protection are also okay. And I don't have any opposition speakers on this one. Do we have the agent on the line? And I believe we have one variance before us.
Maxine Shabsov, acting on behalf of Julia Burke.
I'm sorry, could you give me your name again?
Maxine Shabsov.
Can you spell your last name, please?
Yes, Shabsove.
Okay, thank you. Panel members, any questions on this one for the agent? Okay, we don't have any questions. Maxine, we're ready to make a decision on this. Anything you want to add before we go into committee?
No, that's fine.
Okay, thank you. Carl.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'd like to move approval of the application without conditions. It's a small variance, and basically what is being undertaken is very minor on the footprint and the appearance of the building. They're creating more headroom so that the third floor is more usable, and I think that's quite a reasonable use of space and a very reasonable variance.
Okay, do I have a seconder? Okay, Mr. Cheng, motion to approve, moved by Mr. Nipfel, seconded by Mr. Cheng. All in favor? That carries unanimously. Item number 32, 93 South Kingsway. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 3 photographs of trees on the property, previous decisions affecting 69 and 89 South Kingsway. We have forestry asking for condition number 2, correspondence in opposition from number 30 and 28 Innisfree Court, as well as 95 Lavinia Avenue. And I am showing what looks like 2 speakers in opposition. Do we have them both?
Through you, Madam Chair, both speakers are on standby.
All right. Can I have the agent then, please?
Osrin, you've been unmuted, and you may turn on your video.
Okay. Thank you very much. This is Osrin Stambuk. I'm at 15 Moreland Road.
Okay, Osrin, is there any way you can speak up? Can barely hear you.
Oh, I'm not sure why that is. Is this a
now,
little better?
now you're really loud, so maybe just lean forward a little bit. Anyway, can you do a presentation, please? I have 2 opposition speakers, no more than 5 minutes.
Absolutely, thank you. So, what we have here is a single-story detached bungalow, and the owners wanted to develop it into something larger. And basically, we took our cues from developments on the street. So if you look at the supporting documentation I sent as part of this application, it's showing it's not previous decisions. It's been uploaded to the AIC recently, and it's showing 69 and 96 South Kingsway. Just waiting for you to pull that up because it's quite important. Well, just to go on while that is being pulled up. And I don't know if there's an issue with accessing it, but I uploaded some supporting material on July 4th, which, oh, there it is. No, that's on my computer, not on your screen. Okay, so this is basically, I was showing 69 and 89 South Kingsway that were both approved for variances that far exceed the variances that are being requested by us for 93 South Kingsway. And that includes many of the factors that were outlined in the opposition, such as the floor area and the general massing of the proposed addition. And so those are we took our cues from those two projects by doing research on the Committee on Adjustment website, receiving the files, the variances. We looked at that, and then we went a lot less than that. And that is why I would argue we have so few variances in the first place. And so in also in looking at some of the opposition letters, one thing I'll point out is that some of them mentioned the deck issues. We have a deck that's higher than the permitted height. One thing I would like to point out there is that the first part of the deck is the higher part, but then the deck quickly steps down. And you can see that, for example, in the 3D renderings at the front of the plans or on the south elevation of the, sorry, not south, the rear elevation of the plans. You can see basically that the deck steps down. And here you can see that there in the 3D. And also one thing to keep in mind is that the lot slopes towards the back. So then basically the established grade that's being taken from the front, and then when you make your way to the back of the property, it's actually higher at that point, the deck relative to the front grade. But there in the 3D, you can see that step down of the deck. So only that first part, which is about 100 square feet, is the higher part. And one of the reasons we had to do that is because we are raising the main floor in order to avoid the costs of underpinning the basement. So by raising the main floor, we have to raise the kind of first part of the deck, but then we quickly step it down to the lower part. And some of the opposition letters were speaking about privacy concerns, but some of those opposition letters were from properties behind 93 South Kingsway, which are actually on up a slope, and they have decks and windows directly overlooking the backyard. So, you know, privacy, as you well know, is really a two-way street, and I don't think this in any way impinges on anybody's privacy in there. Most of our windows are in the back and the front. Otherwise, we're just utilizing window for light coverage. And then just to speak to any other specific variances, like for example, variance number 4. No, that's not, sorry, that's not the right one. Just want to pull up the right, okay, there's the public notice. Oh, we don't even have a variance number 4, that's right. So that's variance number 3. That speaks to the level of the platform. And then otherwise, the maximum permitted floor space, again, speak purely to to the height we wanted to achieve. So that's my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Okay, we'll hold the questions till after we hear from the opposition.
William, you've been unmuted.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes, can you hear me?
I can. Please identify yourself for the record and the address you're speaking on behalf of.
Okay, William H. Roberts, I'm a barrister and solicitor. I'm speaking on behalf of my client, Mr. Merlin, of 28 Innisfree Court. I should point out that 89, if you look at the original application that went forward, it didn't have any variance for the rear deck. But what happened during construction, they decided on their own, because of water issues with the grade, that they would raise the building up without benefit of permit. Then it was caught, and then their deck was caught. So basically that deck is running off of what is the first floor. Though it's classified as a second floor deck. The concern really is that they could get greater compliance with the rear deck by partially lowering it. The one description of 28 is in fact wrong. There is an old stream in the back of the Innisfree Court, and in fact there's a 4-foot drop from the front of the 28 Innisfree Court to the rear, and he only has about 15 or 20 feet by the time the grade stops from the back of the house to the rear of the property, and his actual living area is below that of 93. It's not above. That's a misdescription of that property. I'm quite sure the owner of 30 can describe that even better than I can in terms of their situation. Similarly, with the other example, if you'll notice, they also had drainage issues. In fact, one concern I do have with this application is they never do drainage issues for or soil elevations for a private residential house. And in fact, the property built at 99 South Kingsway had to be redesigned when they found the one corner of the house was in the middle of a quicksand pit. And they had to redesign the foundations for that. So what I'm saying is 2 examples do not a prevailing character make. And both those examples had unique problems with water penetration, which resulted in the houses being larger than otherwise they would have been. Beyond that, I really have nothing to say. That I believe the applicant needs to do more than what he said to prove his situation. He could simply have done a step down or a shorter step down from the his elevated first floor down to that deck, rather than using a 10 square meters or whatever size it is, 10 square meter structure. He could have kept it to the 2.5 and then done the step down rather than going to 4 point some odd. So really, if he was limited to the 2.5 meters stepping out, that would be probably compliant, even though it was higher than the 1.2, because it would be coming off the first floor. And the rest of the deck would probably be compliant. Although if the grade is dropping, it might not be as you get to the end, because the 1.2 is measured at all points, not by established grade. That's the one unique thing that happened during the course of the OMB, then Ontario Lands Tribunal, then the OLT. It went through 3 different name changes as 569-2013 was dealt with. But respectfully, the rear deck is problematic, and part of the reason is that the properties on Innisfree Court have very shallow rear yards compared to the other ones. And the one example that is quite large has a much wider, 69, has a much wider frontage than any of the other houses on the property, and a greater depth to the houses on, I think at that point it would be Eason Court than this one. So some more sensitivity for the rear decks would be appropriate. And given that they are building a new rear addition, I don't see why they can't comply with the 0.9. I realize they're only a slight amount, but really that is an issue. And those are my points.
Thank you, sir. Any questions for the speaker? Okay, seeing none. Thank you, Mr. Roberts. Do you have the next speaker?
Martin, you've been unmuted.
Mr. Christoph?
Through you, Madam Chair, that speaker was here for quite some time, but he's no longer here.
Okay. Do you want to maybe try him in the meantime? I'll get the agent. Oh, you see him again?
Martin, you've
Hello.
been unmuted.
Hi, Mr. Christoph.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, can you please state your name and address for
Yes.
the record?
My name is Martin Christoph and my wife Eileen Christoph. And I also have my neighbor next door, 28, Mr. Milan. First of all, I would like to make a correction to the site plan. First of all, the tree that is shown on the property line is not where it's shown. It's shown in the wrong location. That tree is actually about 1.5 meters from the existing building. It would be directly in the middle of the construction zone. And they would have to take down that 20-inch diameter tree. Also, at the southeast corner in the backyard, adjacent to our common fence, there's a 10-foot by 15-foot wooden tool shed, very high, that's right up against our fence, which totally obscures the sunlight in the afternoon. It's also directly above the drainage ditch in the back of our joint buildings. So those are two things that are not correct on that site plan. Also, the floor, if they extend that 2 stories again, it'll totally obscure our sunlight. We've got it obscured right now, but going from a 0.35 to a 0.60 is almost double the size allowable by the existing ordinance. And I would like to point out that our back window, our bedroom window, is only 5 meters from the common fence line. That's very close. And also it's very narrow compared to every other property down Innisfree. So I think that when this building is built, if it's built, it'll be the longest building on the block. It's be much farther back than all the other buildings. Basically, we're not enemies with the neighbors there. They're good people. We don't have a problem. But this property, if they put up an extension on that property, it'll block our air. We can't get light. And even that existing shack, in 10 foot by 15, it's very high, blocks all of our sun in the backyard. This is just another nail in the cross. Let's put it that way. Eileen, do you want to say anything? My wife, Eileen, will come up here.
No, we have a little bit of concern about the beautiful tree, and there was a photo of it in the backyard. There is a beautiful large tree that was mentioned. My concern is that it seems to have several large stems on it,
Huge.
stems, and I'm just wondering whether it's been taken into consideration when the house proposed extension is done, whether it'll impact on some of these major stems of this large tree, and whether that kind of research has been done.
Okay, we'll have to ask the agent when he comes back.
Okay, Reg, do you want to talk? No, okay, Reg is going to talk. Basically, it would really just fill up that backyard. They'll be very close to our back window. As I said, we bought the property 25 years ago, and it was only 5 meters from the back fence. And I wish that they bought someplace else where they had a deeper property, because right now they have a long property and we have a short property, and they're filling it up with a 2-story building. Sorry, but that's what I think. And anything else? I think that pretty well covers what we feel. And there are other neighbors here. There's a lot of old people here. They won't be able to be here because they are afraid of computers. They don't know YouTube. Everybody tells me, oh, we don't want it up there, but no one knows YouTube. And that's why I have my neighbor, Reg, here. Just say hello, Reg.
Yeah, hello.
That's,
My lawyer has spoken
Yeah.
on my behalf.
yes, that's the neighbor at 28.
Right, right. Mr. Roberts just spoke on
Roberts,
behalf
correct.
of.
Yes,
Correct.
basically, that's what we feel, and we don't want any hard feelings with neighbors, but the facts are, we find that a real detriment to our property and to our life, especially with that 10-foot by 15-foot tool shed right in the corner. You can touch it. From our side of the fence, we can touch it. And it blocks our whole backyard, that part of the backyard. And this part, if it's constructed, will finish us off. That'll be the end of it.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Panel members, do you have any questions for Martin, Eileen, or Reg? Seeing none? Okay, thank you. Mr. Stambach.
Thank you. I've been unmuted. So you would like me to respond to the
I'd
various...
like you to respond, yeah, only to the issues raised, and also, I don't see a shed on the site plan. Is there a shed at the back? And if there is, are you keeping it?
There is a shed on the survey.
It's on the survey, but not on the site plan, okay.
But that's a tiny shed. It's below 10 square meters. It's not really relevant. And it's allowed to be built at that point. It's allowed to be built without a building permit since it's less than 10 square meters inside. So leaving the shed aside, I also want to actually bridge over to this issue with the trees on the survey. So the site plan is taking the tree locations directly from the digital file of the survey. So if there is some issues with the tree locations, they will be identified by the arborist when we submit permits to injure or destroy the trees, but we're not planning to remove any of them. That's just what it's called. So all tree issues will be dealt with diligently in the permit phase and as part of the condition, if we are approved, to have those trees properly reported in the arborist report and for the reports to talk about the chance of injury. So that's how much I can say about trees. And then the second thing I will say also that was part of the first opposition speaker's points and something you must get very tired of saying over and over again at committee hearings. Drainage issues will be dealt with very carefully in the permit phase, because just like neighbors do not want drainage issues, especially the homeowners do not want drainage issues. And now I will also connect this to the point that the properties behind 93 South Kingsway on Innisfree Court, their decks are overlooking 93 South Kingsway. And actually, I didn't want to start a whole he said, she said thing, because the homeowners of 93 South Kingsway have also grievances with decks that have been built, potentially without a permit, at overlooking their place on Innisfree Court from some of the opposition speakers. So I don't think this is the time or place for those kind of grievances. So I think that those privacy concerns are unwarranted, considering that what we're essentially proposing here, and you can zoom in here and you will see the dimension right in the living room area there. We're essentially proposing less than a 15-foot addition to the back of the house. And that is very reasonable, and it's certainly not the deepest house on the lot. I mean, that can be seen by the supporting material I provided, but also if you were to look at the location map on the Committee of Adjustment notice, you just look at that location map and you see right away that there are plenty of houses that are actually going deeper back. Like 87, 85, on the other side, and so we are well within that precedent. I'm just trying to see my notes here if there are other. And then I would say the most kind of point that I would say is kind of not really relevant to this case is the setback of 0.6 meters. We are following the existing wall, and we do not have any opposition from the neighbor to the north or to the neighbor to the south with the existing setbacks, with those setbacks we are proposing. So I think that's as much as I can say about the setbacks. But overall, to summarize, I think it's a really, really modest addition. We're dealing with 3 variances in effect, and I've explained why we have that deck variance. And I don't think it's severe because it's one step down. It's literally a matter of 10 inches, and for such a small part of the deck. And I don't see how 10 inches ruins anybody's privacy or anybody's life, respectfully. So that is my response to the opposition, and I'm happy to answer any more questions.
Panel members, any questions for the agent? Mr. Bayat?
Thank you. I was just wondering, on the north side and south sides of your deck, you've got a fence, I suppose it's the railings that, I'm not sure what the height is, but would you be okay with that being at 1.5 meter with privacy screens for your neighbors on the north side and south side?
So I can check in. I believe the owner is currently listening in, so maybe they'll text me the answer right away. But I will just, while they're doing that, I will just really quickly say that there is absolutely no issues with north or south neighbors and privacy concerns. They have not come to express any concerns. And also the decks, I believe when I was, okay, this is a good photo. If you can just go back to that one. The neighbor to the north, that deck is actually overlooking, the position of it is actually overlooking the deck at 93. So I've just received a text from the owner, and they're saying they're fine with it because everybody just wants for this to happen and to be cooperative. But I will just say that is not, in my opinion, that's not a reasonable condition, considering that we have zero concern from north and south neighbors about privacy at all. And we're being overlooked from up higher. And actually, if you go back really quickly, you'll be able to see a small picture of the Innisfil Court. 1 foot, right here. If you see at the back fence, that there it's there, the decks are above that fence line. Above that fence level are the decks of the people on Innisfil Court complaining about privacy, and their decks are above a fence line. So that's my opinion on that. But
Okay,
owner,
thank you.
Okay.
Are there any other questions, panel members? Okay, if there are no other questions, let's take it into committee then. Mr. Bayat.
Thank you, Chair. I think the application itself, the 3 variances, are quite straightforward. They are definitely not excessive. I do believe that the concerns that we heard with regard to the deck being too high and overlook is a product also of the shallow nature of the lots directly behind this house on Innisfree Court. So they have very small backyards, and hence they're very close to the neighbor's fence. I do think we need privacy screening on the deck since it's raised on the north side and south side. And while the applicant hasn't had any complaints from those neighbors, for the long term, as neighbors do change, people sell homes, this will certainly be an issue that won't come up. So I'd like to move for approval of the application with one condition, that the deck have privacy screening on the north and south side to 1.5 meters.
There's also forestry number 2.
Yes, and forestry number 2. Thank you.
Okay, so that motion is to approve the application with the condition outlined for screening on the north and south sides of the deck. and forestry number 2, moved by Mr. Bayat. Do I have a seconder? Mr. Cheng, all in favor? That carries. Mr. Nipfel, are you dissenting? Sorry, you're muted.
Yes, I am.
Okay. Okay, item number 33, 384 Ontario Street. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, and no other correspondence and no opposition on this one. We have one variance before us. It's probably the most, well, the most minor we've had all day. Do I have the agent on the line?
Lee, you've been unmuted. Lee, are you there? You've been unmuted.
Lee Paul, are you there? Can you see her? Oh, is it a he?
Lee, I'm going to attempt to call you. Lee, you've been unmuted.
Okay, let's go to the next one.
Hello.
Hi, is this Lee? Okay,
Yeah,
Lee,
sorry,
Lee, do you have something running in the background because it's echoing like crazy?
Okay. I can hear you guys, but sorry, I can't.
Okay.
I'll just move away from my computer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so can you hear me now?
I can.
All right. I'm not sure we have any questions, panel members. Okay, we don't have any questions. We're actually ready to make a decision on this. Is there anything you want to add that's not in the material?
No, I don't.
Okay, panel members, we're in committee. Aaron, did you have your hand up or are you scratching your forehead? I'm not sure. I don't know.
I'm just scratching, but I'm very happy to make a motion to approve.
Great. Okay, do we have a seconder for Aaron's motion of approval? Okay.
I agree with me.
Aaron, would you consider a friendly amendment to screen the rooftop deck on the south side as per?
I'm not a big fan of screen, but I'm okay with that.
But it's already shown. It's just, I think it's on drawing A8.0.
Carl, I believe it may already be screened.
Yeah, I just wanted to tie it to the plan.
Yeah,
It's on A8.0.
good thinking, yes.
Okay.
Okay, so we're tying it to A8.0, and that's for the screening, and that's moved by Mr. Cheng, seconded by Mr. Nipfel. All in favor? And that carries unanimously. Item number 34, 124 Ava Road. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, a previous decision affecting the property, arborist report prepared by Elite Tree Care, and correspondence from the agent. We have two variances before us and no opposition speakers. Alrighty, do we have the agent? Hi.
Hi, this is George Mulgate from Richard Wendell Architect, and I'm acting as the owner's representative for 124 Ava Road.
Just a question, are you doing permeable pavers for the walkway, et cetera?
Right now, there is no permeable pavers, no. It's a hardscape landscape, but it's something we could definitely look at if need be.
Okay, panel members, do you have any other questions? Mr. Bayat?
Just a quick one. Is this walkway, because the way the purpose reads is to permit this one, which I suppose might be to legalize it?
Yes, it's been constructed. It's been constructed. Sorry, go ahead.
So since it's already constructed, there's no way you're going to put in permeable pavers unless you're going to demolish and start again?
Well, we would hope not to have to do that, but you're right. It is already constructed. When it was built, the contractor and the consultant did not realize that this would pose any type of variances, because obviously it was constructed as and seen as just hardscape landscaping.
So I'm just wondering, and this may be a question for Secretary Treasurer, whether the purpose needs to be altered to read to legalize the concrete walkway rather than permit it.
So what happened is when we went in for a permit revision on this, not realizing that this would have raised any type of variances, and once the zoning examiner reviewed it, then these two items came up, right? So it is built.
Sorry to interject, but the
Yes, go
question
ahead.
was actually to the Deputy Secretary Treasurer whether or not we have to change the wording on the purpose. So if she can just respond.
Through you, Madam Chair. Typically, we use the terminology to legalize and to maintain when there's an order to comply. If there isn't, then we do just use the terminology to permit. So I don't believe that we need to change the purpose of application.
Okay, does that help you out, Mr. Bayat?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions, panel members? Mr. Nipfel?
Can we just clarify then the point that you made, Madam Chairman, about permeable pavers? I think that's reasonable if the walkway wasn't there, but is there and it's new, and I'd be inclined to think that we should leave it as it is.
You're asking me? I mean,
Yeah.
Because
then he has to rip the whole thing up, and as I read the background information, it's an error that was made during construction, so it's a brand new concrete walkway.
Yeah, I mean, I hear where you're coming from, although part of me would like to have seen it as permeable pavers, but.
Well, he said he would be open to that if you wanted to do that.
Yeah, I mean, we would
I just didn't know
basically
where we
ask
left it.
them to rip it up and redo it, right?
Just if I may, just keep in mind that so the one of the reasons why it was done this way was also it was also in coordination with 126 Ava Road, and creating positive drainage for both properties. Again, it was built not realizing that it was going to cause any issues. Yeah, it was done with a hardscape, non-permeable pavers. At the end of the day, if we are asked to take it down, then I don't think we'll have much of a choice, but we would hope to try to avoid that, obviously.
Okay, understood. Any other questions? Okay, is there anything else you would like to add, sir?
I don't think so. I mean, I do think these are two very minor variances. Obviously, they came about from a lack of understanding exactly what could have been done there. It's done, and it was in coordination and consultation, both with the site grading engineer as well as the neighbor to 126 Ava Road, and also to provide better accessibility towards the back.
Okay. All right, let's take it into committee, panel members. Mr. Bayat?
Thank you, Chair. I'll take a jab at it again. The variances are very minor in nature, and I don't have any concerns about that. On the question of the concrete walkway and ripping it up, I think given that it's a new one and it may involve the neighbor as well, I'm a bit loath to change that. So I would like to perhaps, and see where this goes, put forward a motion to approve as is. I don't believe there are any other conditions at all.
Okay, motions to approve the variances moved by Mr. Bayat. Do I have a seconder? Mr. Cheng? All in favor? That carries unanimously. Item number 36, 111, or I'm sorry, item number 35, 1 Bowler Street. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 3 photographs of trees on the property, and we have 3 form letters in support, and that's from the adjacent neighbor at number 3, and 2 neighbors on Maria Street, number 27 and 29. I don't show any opposition speakers on this one either. Do we have the agent on the line?
Yes, my name is Mark Franklin. I am an architect and the agent for the owner.
Hi, panel members, do you have any questions for the agent? Mr. Bayat?
Yes, thank you. I've got concerns with variance number 5, the reduction in soft landscaping in the rear. Is it a function of the variance number 3, the the footage of the area of the garage, the proposed one, which is 48 as opposed to 40 square meters?
No, the answer is that the existing backyard is significantly under in terms of soft landscaping. The building that we're proposing, as the notes say and the drawings indicate, it's a replacement of an existing building, but it's actually smaller than the existing building. The issue here is that the rear yard landscaping that exists is beneath the required min. And so we're doing a little bit better than the existing by making the new building a bit smaller, but there's only so much we can do.
Is there any other work being done at the back? Like you've got a concrete walkway to the garage. Is there any intended work to be done to that? In other words, I'm thinking, permeable pavers, since I beg your pardon for interrupting you, permeable pavers for the walkway instead of being a concrete one. Is that a possibility?
I think, to be fair to you guys, yes, it is possible. You can see on the drawings the extent of the demolition of the existing walkway that's required. I certainly think that this strip of walkway between the existing, there's a shallow retaining wall there, and the new building, that could certainly be permeable. It doesn't need to be concrete. So I think we can do a little bit better. We can add a couple of square meters, and we're happy to do that. Like, I'm not going to be negative at all. We're supportive of the idea.
Thank you. That would certainly help.
Any other questions, panel members? Okay, I'm not seeing any other questions, Mr. Franklin. Is there anything you want to add that's not in the submissions before we take into committee? No? Okay.
No, thank you, Madam Chair. Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. Panel members, we're in committee. Mr. Nipfel?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I think this is a reasonable application. As the applicant indicated, the new garage is slightly smaller than the existing garage, and the deficient landscaping is basically a product of the existing condition. I would like to move approval of the application, and I need somebody's help in describing the piece of land that we're going to have permeable pavers on. Is it the space between the garage and the...
There's a concrete patio, Carl. And between the patio and the garage, there's a walkway. It's a concrete walkway. That's how it's identified on the site plan.
Yeah, that's not showing on my site plan. I must have a really bad copy. So if that's the description, then I'm happy with that.
Okay, so that motion with that condition for permeable pavers, Moved by Mr. Nipfel, seconded by Mr. Bayat. All in favor? Okay, that motion carries. Let's take a 10-minute break and come back at 20 to 6, and then we'll start with item 36, which is 111 Marlborough Avenue.
Sweetheart. Okay.
All right, panel members, the next item is item number 36, 111 Marlborough Avenue. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, a revised site plan, floor plans, and elevations. That came in our supplemental, 2 photographs of trees, presentation materials from the agent, which also came in our supplemental. We have email correspondence from transportation. They don't have any concerns. Forestry's asking for condition number 2. We have correspondence in opposition from 109 and 113 Marlborough, so both adjacent neighbors, as well as 105 and 115, 117 and a half Marlborough, and 118 McPherson. I'm showing several speakers. Do we have the agent on the line? And just before, do we have Aaron, or has he sent you a message at all? Or? Okay.
Hello.
Hi, sorry, I was just looking for my my other panel member, that's all. Okay.
Oh, sorry.
No worries. But anyway, glad to know that we have you coming through loud and clear. I do need you to do a presentation, no more than 5 minutes, because there are opposition speakers on this one.
Certainly. It's Richard De Oliveira representing the owners of 111 Marlborough Avenue. We are, I'm wondering if we can bring up the latest site plan from July 11th. Just I think it'll have some context here as we're going through. Yeah, that would be great. So we and the homeowners have taken great care to ensure that the design of our proposal respects the character and the rights and preferences of our clients as well. Our clients have they started back in February to engage with neighbors about the proposed addition in the garage. At the time, there was some conversation, some dialogue, but nothing in terms of opposition. Upon the notices, we did start to see opposition and letters of objection come about. So I think what we'll do is we'll focus on 2 of the main points, and then we can talk about some of the changes that we've done to address those. We'd like to focus on the FSI, or floor space index. Our proposal's for 20.54%. Sorry, I skipped ahead here. I'm looking at the wrong thing. Actually, let's start with the soft landscaping. Our proposal is for 20.54% of landscaping, where a 50% is mandated. Our research with the area shows that there is an example of a lesser percentage with a similar sized lot, 82 Roxborough Street West, similar sized lot with a variance was granted for 15.56%. Visually, in looking at aerial photos, there are a number of unapproved variances or houses that have the same or lesser percentage of hard landscaping. An example is the neighboring property at 113 Marlborough. There's very limited, close to 0% soft landscaping. In terms of the, I'd like to move on then to the floor space index. We're seeking 0.74, which is an increase of 0.14. We have many examples on our street ranging from 0.95 to 1.15 times. In terms of the objections, we've worked with our clients to come up with some concessions based on reviewing the objection, and they're specifically to the landscaping and the existing 2 trees on the lot. So if you look at that site plan again, there's an existing tree at the very back. So what we're proposing in terms of soft landscaping and the garage, we're proposing that we change the proposal from a garage to a carport. That'll allow us to build around the existing tree. And we've had experience in coming up with a design that will work and we can maintain the tree. And we're going to work with the client, and we'll propose permeable pavers for the rear driveway in that area. So that'll help mitigate the percentage of our soft landscaping. And in consultation with our arborist, there we can work with maintaining that tree. The second item, or the second tree, which is at the rear there, we've worked with our arborist to come up with a proposal that saves that tree and mitigates the need for an injury permit. We will need to remove the basement, which we've proposed on this plan, and our proposal today will seek to remove our basement and the walkout as part of the addition, and also will incorporate the soft landscaping.
Is there any changes to any variances or not?
No.
Okay. I also read something about cantilevering the rear addition.
Correct. So in omitting the basement level, our proposal on the ground floor moving upward will be maintained, but it'll be, we'll work with our structural engineer to come up with a plan that allows us to cantilever that ground floor out.
Have you gone over any of these changes, improvements with any of the neighbors at all?
We have not, no.
Okay. Well, I'm going to hold off on questions, but there are a number of objectors, so I'm not sure if they're going to follow all the changes that you've just outlined. Okay. Well, let's just go in order then. Stanley?
Okay.
Hi.
Okay.
Barry, you've been muted, and you may turn on your video.
Okay. Oh. Okay. Oh,
Hi, Barry?
yeah. Can you see me?
I can't, no. Oh, now I can.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
I just need you to state your name and address for the record. Did you follow some of the revisions that are being made in terms of, you know, permeable pavers to the driveway in the rear? Garage is now going to be a carport and cantilevering a portion on the back.
Yeah, so Barry Gilbert, I'm at 109, so we're the attached neighbor to 111. Yeah, I can follow some. I don't understand. Like, I just haven't seen these plans, and I don't understand the cantilevering concept. So I've prepared some remarks to the original proposal that we received the notice about. So can I make those?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So as I said, we're the attached owners to 111 Marlborough. And we wanted to point out that the original proposed plan for 111 Marlborough required the destruction of 2 mature trees. So one is located in the applicant's rear yard, and the other tree is a shared tree, which is located on our property and which contains its primary root system on the first 10 feet of the trunk, and then it crosses over or veers over to the applicant's property. Urban Forestry has provided a comment on this, which you would have. And in some, it says, first, both trees are protected under the city's municipal code, chapter 813, and both trees would require an application to permit their destruction, and that an application to remove the applicant's rear tree would likely be recommended for refusal. And finally, preserving and enhancing the city's urban forest is a fundamental policy objective of the City of Toronto's official plan. The official position of urban forestry on our shared tree is less clear, but certainly an application to destroy it would require a permit submission by the applicant, and along with that would require our agreement, and we tried to be clear in our letter, a copy of which you have, that to lose the shared tree would be an unacceptable adverse impact for us, and we wouldn't consent to destroying that tree. If the applicant's combined variances for excess density and reduced soft landscaping are approved, that will be a springboard for 2 permit applications to destroy 2 botanically healthy trees. Accordingly, we're asking, since the application seems to be at a procedural dead end, so in the context of the very clear official plan policy direction around preserving the urban forest, we'd urge the committee to refuse this application, the original one. So in our letter to you, which you have, we outlined in clear detail the quality of our rear yard amenity, which is derived from a combination of our garden and the shared tree, and the significant impact it would cause if the tree were to be destroyed and replaced with the applicant's 3-story rear wall addition, which is proposed to be located on a 0 lot line with ours, and which would extend deeper into the rear yard than our existing wall. So in addition to the impact of losing the shared tree and its replacement with the solid wall extension, our key concerns are the proposed 21-foot long garage, virtually on a 0 setback with our property, rising 7 feet above our boundary fence, creating a claustrophobic effect that would further diminish our enjoyment of our yard. The significant variance, approximately 40% in the reduction of rear yard landscaping, transformed into hardscaping, and this would lead to increased runoff and problems with overland water, which is something becoming an increasing problem in our neighborhood. It'll facilitate an enlarged rear yard activity area without due regard to appropriate landscape buffering, and this has been and finally, privacy concerns from the overlook from the proposed rear Juliet balcony, which we feel would present an unacceptable overlook impact into our backyard. And we also have concerns about the balcony on the 3rd floor dormer in the front. We feel that these cumulative impacts on our property will be adverse and unacceptable. And in addition, it'll be more unacceptable if we have to defend against the prospect of a permit application to destroy our shared tree. To that end, we did retain a professional forester, Mr. Peter Kuntz, who came to our property last week. He assessed the health of our tree and has provided us with a recommended maintenance program going forward, which we intend to implement, all towards maintaining and enhancing our tree, which Mr. Kuntz said was entirely worthy of preservation and ongoing protection. So finally, last comments just about the revised plan, which I'm just hearing about now. They seem like a substantial change. I confess I don't understand the cantilevering idea to protect the shared tree. The plans seem sort of notional and somewhat vague, and we're concerned whether the variances proposed are appropriate to that plan. The applicant hasn't provided, I don't think, any professional forestry evidence whether this plan will actually work to save the trees. And it's not clear whether the forester the applicant used has seen these plans. We have a professional forester who's prepared to view the evidence. But at this point, in view of all this, we would ask the committee to reject the proposal. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any questions for the speaker panel members? Okay. And just to confirm, Mr. Gilbert, Mr. Parker was only going to speak if you weren't speaking. So.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Do you have Ann Donaldson?
Anne, you've been unmuted.
Oh, hello.
Hi.
My name is Donaldson, and I live at 105 Marlborough Avenue. And I cannot support this proposal. My big objection, of course, is the removal of 2 mature trees. They provide a beautiful canopy for several properties in the neighborhood, certainly including mine. And, provide shade and all the beautiful things that trees supply. And also I'm concerned about drainage. I've had some serious drainage issues, both in my backyard and in my basement. So just expanding the softscape, is a bit nerve-wracking because it's so close to my property. So really, I just believe the soft landscaping is not minor, and combined with the proposed removal of the protected trees, that's my main objection.
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions for the speaker, panel members? Mr. Nipfel?
Can I just clarify, you said expanding the soft landscaping was a problem. I think you meant reducing it, am I correct?
I did mean reducing it. Yes, thank you. Yeah,
Okay,
I did
thanks.
mean reducing it.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right, thank you very much. Could I have the next speaker?
Through you, Madam Chair, I've made 5 attempts to locate Ms. Clune and was unable to locate her.
Okay, can we go to the next one then?
Bart, you've been unmuted.
Yes, I have.
Hi.
My name is Bart Minzenti. I'm speaking with a hat and a half. I'm a director of APC, the Residents Ratepayers Association, and also live a couple of doors over. We really feel that this right now at this stage does not merit even further discussion. We think it merits a deferral until all these issues can be addressed. We knew nothing about this revised plan till yesterday, which doesn't really leave us enough time. Now, mind you, we didn't even know about the first plan until we got it in the mail from the city. So I'm recommending and urging on behalf of the ABCRA that this be shelved until some definitive plans can be presented, because right now we don't know anything for sure, except there's some major changes being wanted.
Okay.
That's it.
All right, thank you very much. I tend to agree with you in terms of a deferral. Panel members, any questions for Mr. Minzenthi? Okay, thank you. Let's move to the next speaker.
Sandy, you've been unmuted.
Hi, thanks for the opportunity. We're the neighbors at 113, and I guess there are just 2 comments that I have. The first one is incorrectly said, we were not notified before we got the letter in the mail that there was this planned renovation. It would have been a preferred action if, in fact, at 111, they had called a meeting with all of us to have this conversation like adults, and we could have probably solved this and saved everybody a lot of time. And the second one is I asked for the deferral because we didn't see anything. And in fact, I only saw the plan come in today. So from my perspective, I'm not clear. I don't understand sort of what they're planning on doing. And so I asked for a deferral. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. De Oliveira.
Thank you. I've been listening in here. We've made we've taken some steps to address the main concerns as outlined in everyone's objections here, and specifically the trees. We've worked with our arborist. Our arborist agrees with Mr. Gilbert's arborist in that the tree is healthy, and we've worked with the arborist to come up with the solution that will allow the tree to survive. Moving the tree at the very between the 2 properties. We've taken steps to address that. And along with the tree at the very rear. So our proposal is clear to request that they're not going to remove the trees. So we ask that committee approve the variances. We're happy to change the wording to address those concerns. In terms of the landscaping area, we've taken a concession of changing that to permeable. The variance itself is minor, and it's in line with the surrounding neighbors, specifically 113, 115. We're basically mimicking the same proposal that they've done over the years. So less landscaping to accommodate some sort of parking space at the rear. And in fact, our property has more soft landscaping than those two combined. So we're looking to move forward with our application and our proposal based on those changes. And I think based on what you see, they resolve the issues and the concerns addressed by the neighbors.
Okay, panel members, do you have any questions? Mr. Bayat?
Thank you, Chair. I heard you earlier, Mr. D'Oliveira, talking about a carport as opposed to the garage. Is that what you're suggesting? Is that instead of having a full-scale four-sided
Correct.
Four-wall garage, it would be a carport that's got open sides?
Correct. And it allow for an opening in the roof to allow the tree trunk to protrude as well. And we've worked on similar proposals in the past where the trees allowed to thrive in that condition, with some steps taken to ensure that the tree lives with that.
And would this be a single car garage then?
Correct. So our variances as they stand would be the same. I think if it's more in the wording of the description. I think right now it says an ancillary building, which still maintains the same characteristics, but we would change where it says detached garage to a carport.
Okay, so I think that's probably one of the things that needs to happen. Is that there needs to be a change in the wording so that it's clear that it's a carport with access for the tree to go project through, presumably. I don't know if your drawings need changing as well, because I think this is a complete a different project as opposed to garage.
I think we have revised plans with the changes in our supplemental agenda, which, again, I can't open it myself, but that's what my notes say.
So yeah, this site plan here is the updated version. Yeah. And we'd be happy to have it tied to plans with this version.
Okay, I'm just going to be looking at, oh yes, the revised ones. I see it now. Thank you. Proposed carport. I think that makes eminent sense. And you're looking at permeable pavers leading up to the carport itself. May I ask if you would be all right with? I think you've beaten me to it. In the revised site plan, you've got permeable pavers for the proposed patio. So
Sure.
that would certainly alleviate some of the drainage issues.
Yes.
I think as revised, it certainly for me, it begins to be a much more acceptable application. And if I may just ask one other question, I noticed your neighbor to I'm not sure what number this one is. It's number 113. They have an existing garage. So I am going to assume that your proposed carport, or it would have been a garage, I suppose, if the tree wasn't there, is as of right?
Correct. Minus there is a variance for an undersized parking space, and that's to allow for the configuration and just to provide some sort of soft landscaping on our property. If
Right.
One of the variances is for an undersized parking space. If we are to maintain an as of right situation, that carport or garage would have been larger.
Thank you.
Mr. D'Oliveira, I don't want to belabor this, but I just can't wrap my head around the fact that it's great that you did the carport and you made these changes to save the trees, but you were aware of the concerns of the neighbors. I just don't understand why you didn't show them these plans before today.
It was something that did happen in the last minute here from our standpoint. Also, the impact of these changes were specifically to our property. And they were to allow for the retention of the trees. So it did take some time to work with our arborist through that.
And do you stand with respect to a potential deferral to at least, show the neighbors who have come here today and have waited a long time, who, aren't really understanding some of what you've changed?
So from what I understand, our client did try multiple times to meet with the neighbor at 109. And for whatever reason, those meetings kept getting pushed or changed. So there was some discussion prior. The rest, I think some of those neighbors did ignore our clients throughout the discussion period. I think at this point we've made concessions, fairly large concessions in terms of the overall scheme, and to the benefit of the neighbors in terms of keeping the trees. Our client's initial preference was to remove both trees. 109 was in agreement early on to remove the tree, but changed their opinion as the project came about. So at this point, I think it's a concession that does address the neighbors' concerns, and we'd ask that we proceed with the decision today.
Okay, anyone else have any questions? Mr. Baya, you have another question, or no?
No, sorry, I was just scratching my
Oh, okay. All right, well, let's take it into committee then. Mr. Nipfel.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I appreciate that Mr. Delavere has tried very hard to save the trees. And from what he says, it sounds as though those are very good moves. Changing the garage to a carport, cutting a hole in the roof so that the tree can go through. I gather that he's not going to extend the basement to protect the other tree that's or close to the property boundary. What I'm not sure is what the implications are of his proposal on the proposed deck. He's going to have to take part of that deck away in order to save that tree. I think the issue, simply stated, and one of the people that was speaking in opposition said it, I thought, very clearly. There was an obligation to consult with people on what you propose, and what you propose, to your credit, is different and new. We just got it last night, but it's, I think, unreasonable to expect the residents in the area to understand what you're proposing. I am going to move a deferral of the application to allow you to negotiate with the residents in the area, and to suggest that you provide detailed plans of the changes. In other words, elevation and plan of the carport, the changes that are going to be undertaken to the deck, and the removal of the basement. I think we need drawings to show the people exactly what you're proposing. I'm not questioning that they're good objectives, but I do think we need some drawings, and the people need some time to digest them. So I move a deferral for those reasons.
Do I have a seconder for that motion? Okay, that's seconded by Mr. Bayat. All in favor of a deferral? Okay, that motion carries unanimously. So the item's been deferred. Sabrina, are we still looking 2-3 months before you could get it back on?
Through you, Madam Chair, currently we're scheduling for our August 30th hearing, but chances are this looks like more like September, because we'll have 3 hearings in September.
Okay, so Mr. De Oliveira, I would suggest that you meet with the neighbors, in particular the ones who are here today, and go over the changes, and so that potentially you won't have the objections the next time you come before us, but at least the neighbors will know what you're proposing, and that you're making every effort to address the concerns that they have. Okay, so thank you. Item number 37, 388 St. Clarence Avenue. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. We have a covering letter from the agent and an arborist report from Brightleaf. And we don't have any opposition speakers on this one. Do I have the agent on the line? And we have 3 variances before us.
Jay, you've been unmuted.
Good evening, Madam Chair. Jay Smith, agent for 388 St. Clarence Avenue.
Okay, panel members, do you have any questions for Mr. Smith? Okay, it doesn't look like we have any questions, sir. Ready to make a decision. Anything you want to add that's not in the submissions?
No, thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, thanks. All right, we're in committee, panel members. Mr. Bayat.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think this is a very straightforward application, three variances and all reasonable requests. So I'd like to move approval, no conditions attached.
Okay, do I have a seconder? Mr. Chang, so motion to approve, moved by Mr. Bayat, seconded by Mr. Chang, all in favor. That carries unanimously. Item number 38, 861 Dundas Street West. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 1 photograph of trees on the property, covering letter from the agent, email correspondence from transportation, and they don't have any concerns, and a 3-signature petition in support, which includes the adjacent neighbor at 859 as well as 865 Dundas Street West and 198 Euclid. No opposition speakers listed on this one. Do we have the agent?
Graham, you've been unmuted.
Thank you very much. Good evening, committee members, Madam Chair. Graham Barrett, SGL Planning and Design, agent for the owner of 861 Dundas Street West.
Oh boy, it's evening already. Well, welcome. Panel members, do you have any questions for Mr. Barrett? Don't appear to have any questions, so we're ready to make a decision on this. Anything you'd like to add that's not in the submissions?
No, it's certainly a bit of an unusual situation, but I've laid it out quite clearly in my cover letter. So if you've had a chance to read that, I think everything's pretty well explained. It's unfortunate that the owner is having to deal with this now based on the actions of a previous owner, because this would have been a great minor variance application on its own merits without having to go after the fact.
Okay. Panel members, we're in committee. Mr. Bayat?
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is, again, a fairly unusual circumstance, but not problematic. I'd like to move approval of this application. There are no conditions attached.
Okay, do I have a seconder for that motion? Mr. Chang, so a motion to approve, moved by Mr. Bayat, seconded by Mr. Chang. All in favor? That carries unanimously. Item number 39, 406 to 410 Keel Street. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, covering letter from the agent, previous decisions affecting the property, an arborist report from Amy Turner Landscape, presentation materials in our supplemental agenda from the agent, and we have planning doesn't have any issues, and I do not have any opposition on this one either. Okay, do we have the agent on the line?
Mona, you've been unmuted and you may turn on your video.
Thank you very much. Good evening, Chair and committee members. My name is Mona Al-Shari and I'm a planner at Bousfields Incorporated, and I'm here representing the owners who are 406 to 410 Keel Developments Limited.
Okay.
I'm happy to, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say, I don't know that we need a presentation, but I'm not sure if there are any questions. So members, do you have any questions? No? Looks like we have no questions. We've read all the material, and we're ready to make a decision. Is there anything you want to add that's not in the covering letter and the materials that we have before us?
No, I'm happy to just proceed to the decision.
Okay. All right, we're in committee, panel members.
Aaron, do you want to go?
There you go. Okay.
I think it's a very straightforward application, and I'm very happy to make a motion to approve it. I
Okay.
don't see any condition. Yeah.
No, there are none. And Carl seconds, so motion to approve, moved by Mr. Chang, seconded by Mr. Nipfel. All in favor? That carries unanimously. Item number 40, 1080 Queen Street East. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, revised site plan, and a key plan, an old site plan, floor plans, and elevations from 1992. And we have email correspondence from the zoning examiner in Toronto building. And I'm not showing any opposition speakers on this one either. Okay, do we have the agent on the line?
Judah, you've been unmuted, and you may turn on your video.
Thank you very much. Good evening, Chair and committee members. This project is for Wood Green Community Services, and it's a conversion of existing ground floor commercial space that formerly was an employment center into what we consider essential housing for seniors with dementia. And excuse me, the variances that we're looking at here really for floor space index, first of all, because the ratio of what's existing to what is allowed is slightly eclipsed. And then 2 and 3 are for parking, vehicular and bicycle parking. And since we're dealing with seniors with dementia who will be living under supervision, they will neither be driving nor riding bicycles. So we ask for an exemption in this case. And lastly, because we are retrofitting what is existing space in an existing building, we ask for grandfathering of amenity space because it already exists in the building, which is for seniors.
Okay, let me see if there's any questions for you, panel members. We don't have any questions. We've read all the materials. We're ready to make a decision. Anything else you want to add? We're ready to go into committee on this one.
Yes, just lastly, we are converting this into 9, as I said, essential housing units for tenants with dementia. 2 of those will be fully accessible. That's just what I wanted to add.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Panel members, we're in committee. Mr. Nipfel?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. This is a great conversion project. The applicant answered my one and only question, which was whether it was for independent living. I didn't realize it was for people with dementia, which makes it all that much better, because there were common areas and I didn't understand why they would be needed unless there was some sort of supervision or control, and he's answered that. I don't think that there is anybody that would object to this. There is clearly no negative impact on the community, and in the larger community, it's a much needed service, and it's a great way to convert space in a building. I'm happy to move approval of the application without any conditions.
Okay, and Mr. Bayat seconds, so motion to approve, moved by Mr. Nipfel, seconded by Mr. Bayat. All in favor? Okay, that carries unanimously. All right, item number 41, 446 Westmount Avenue. We have before us a copy of the minutes from the December 7th, 2022 public hearing, copy of the plan of survey, revised site plan, floor plans, and elevations. We have staff reports from tree protection and plan report, which is an advisory report, I believe, and opposition with no address provided. Sabrina, if I can just go over my notes with you here, because I'm showing, planning wanted the parking pad to have permeable pavers. Okay, transportation objects to the substandard parking pad, but there's no variance for it. Okay, and forestry is just an advisory report. And then, I'm not sure, I'm showing here, yeah, just, I think this is just the changes from before, the variances 1 and 2 changed from
Sorry, through you,
previously.
Madam Chair, there is, in the supplemental package, forestry is denying permission to reduce front yard soft landscaping area.
Okay, again, yeah, I can't, can you guys put it out? I can't open my sup at all.
It's on the screen now.
Okay. So,
Can I add one other question? It was deferred because transportation said it was insufficient size. What isn't in the material that we have, and maybe the applicant can explain, the drawing that we have before us, SP 1.02, where the parking space is on an angle, has that received transportation approval? Because previously transportation said the space wasn't big enough and it was deferred for the applicant to consult with transportation, and now this has come back. This is a case where covering letter would be helpful. So is this the result of the transportation consultation?
That question is to the applicant. Max, are you on the line? We haven't unmuted him?
yeah,
Okay.
we haven't
Okay,
unmuted him.
so
I just
that-
wanted to
okay.
make sure that what I have here was, because it's not all listed here, but, yeah, he can speak to those questions, because there's, also an opposition speaker, right? Do we, yeah, so we need a presentation anyway, so Max, if you're listening, perhaps you can include in your presentation some of these questions that are being raised, so, anyway, we're gonna unmute you now.
Yes, good evening, committee. Good evening, Madam Chair. My name is Max Murchison, and I represent the homeowner on this application. I hope you guys can hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you, so we started the clock, so go ahead.
Perfect. Yes, so definitely the second plan is a result of communication with transportation. We try to make sure that we're within the property line. Transportation didn't give us any response about that, so we assumed that it's okay, as the first one they did not support. So if I could answer your questions, if there are any other questions that you guys have.
Well, I do have an opposition speaker,
Yes,
so can you
okay.
maybe
I
just...
can talk about that,
Yeah,
yes.
but also can you go over, like, if anything's changed, and then also, you know, the forestry, like, you're aware of the forestry, that they
Yes,
don't
so
support?
it looks like the first forestry report was actually not to object to the application, and then the second letter saying that it might be, if I'm correct, it might be in the way of future plan to plant some trees, which is something that we can definitely solve with the forestry, due to the fact that, as you guys understand, yes, there is a small front yard, and yes, it is in the way, but this is something that will be definitely an object to resolution with forestry. Now, when it's in regards with the letter, so there are 4 points that I was trying to understand what exactly that means. Point number 1 says that the homeowner knew what the house that they're purchasing. That kind of doesn't make sense to me, because many people purchase houses and go for permits to revise quite a few things. Overall, it doesn't look like a big minor variance. So if I were to purchase the same kind of house, I would think that I would not think that it could be something that is a big deal. Therefore, by the fact that I knew that that they knew that they bought a house without a parking spot, that doesn't mean a lot. Second note here that's saying that will only cause more rainfall. This is something that the permeable pavers can solve, and we're willing definitely to go that route. I think it's going to be better. than just a regular driveway. It's also going to solve point number 3 with the snow placement. And there is enough space also on the side of the house to place snow, and there are other ways to solve it when it comes to building ways, heated driveways, and other things that can be thought of in order to accommodate for that. So I don't think that the parking is really a problem for that. And yes, the fact that it's going to eliminate a parking for people, for visitors, I do believe that also we should care about the homeowners and the citizens of the city that actually live in these areas, and not only about somebody that is going to visit people. The idea is, neighborhoods are being evolved, and we have those luxuries right now all over the city. Houses are being built with parkings, and it's necessity number 1 in such a big city like Toronto. And I think that a parking pad should not really reflect on the neighbors or anybody else, as we're not adding anything huge to this building. And also, just kind of to let you know that the property on itself is very narrow. So we just trying to accommodate for what was requested by transportation. And therefore, that's why the parking is this way. But overall, what we're proposing when it comes to the entrance also, it actually going to be encroaching less into the transportation department, because if you look into the first site plan and the existing front entrance to the house, it actually goes all the way to the property line, versus now we're proposing a smaller entry on the side, which will actually, I think, look better and solve many other issues for transportation department in the future.
Okay, I think before we go to questions, let's hear from the opposition first.
Hi, Joyce. You've been unmuted, and you may turn on your video.
Hey, can you hear me okay?
Yes, go ahead. I just need
Okay,
your
perfect.
name and address before we reset the clock.
Yes, my name is Joyce Chen, and I live at 457 Westmount. So I'm the different submission than the person who had put in the written submission without the address, by the way, that the applicant was referring to. So, I mean, I just want to start off by saying that I more than understand the property's owner to have a personal parking pad, like I honestly do. But I do want to voice my views on how it negatively impacts planning of our neighborhood. So my main concern with the approval of the parking pad is around the removal of soft landscaping and increasing the amount of storm runoff and snow melt off on our street. So while I appreciate that the applicant was saying that they have included or can include permeable paving, it really doesn't solve for the problem of the proposal. So our street planning is unique in a couple of ways. So one, Westmount is a one-way street, which inherently makes it pretty narrow. And two, our stretch of Westmount is also very hilly as well, with 446 actually being located on a part of a steep road incline. So both of these things together has led to very problematic and unsafe winter road conditions already. So unfortunately, many of the surrounding properties already have very limited soft landscaping, and in some cases none, whether that's legally, illegally. I know that's out of the scope of this, but what that has caused is that most of the residents do shovel their snow from their parking pads directly onto the street. It's pretty well known in the neighborhood that a couple houses downhill from 446 is essentially a car snow trap where cars consistently get stuck in the winter. So in the past couple of winters, I have seen this happen every single snowfall and for the days following. And just this past winter, there was a traffic jam of about 20 cars for an hour on our small one-way street because cars couldn't get up the hill properly. And I have also seen that result in safety hazards of neighbors essentially having to come out of their house to push stranded cars up the road. So our one-way street also rarely gets snow removal by the city in the winter time. So the conditions essentially stay that way for most of the snowy winter, which essentially brings me back to the point of why I'm not in support of another property installing a parking pad. The parking pad being permeable or not does not resolve the issue that in this proposal, there's almost no space on the property except for the street that's available for the owners to shovel the snow from their parking pad to, which will continue to not only add snow melt-off and contribute to an already significant planning problem and also unsafe winter conditions on the street. I'm not sure if this is the latest plan because the one that I got is actually the one with the straight parking. But if you look at that, arguably, like with the point that was made around that there is space on the property for snow, it is in the existing right-of-way, which is being considered right now as soft landscaping. And I think honestly, like anyone who has shoveled snow before, you're not going to walk around the stairs and put your snow in the right of way. I already know it's going to end up on the street. And if you just look at the proportion of the soft landscaping that is there with the parking pad proposed, it's just not enough space. I guarantee that's going to end up on the street and it's only going to add to the unsafe conditions on the road already. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Any questions for the speaker, panel members? Okay, thank you, Joyce. Mr. McKaison?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. So, yes, I heard the issues, and I actually, funny enough, all those issues are pretty much there due to the fact that there are cars on the street, and due to the fact that, as she said, that the street is narrow, and when you have a narrow street, when you have cars parked on it all over, clearly that makes an issue for traffic, and clearly that will create traffic jams. About the road conditions, so pretty much everything, most of the things that she discussed is legitimately an issue because it's an older street and because it's a one-way street and because people are parked on it. I do believe that parking on the property, if every homeowner had an opportunity to have a parking spot on the property and they could park on the property, and there were signs determining no parking after certain times or certain times of the year, this issue probably would be solved. But this is something probably that the planning and the municipality would be looking into it. Now, regarding the snow accumulations, I do agree that in the winter there is snow accumulations, and just to kind of explain, the site plan that you're seeing, this is, there is more space for snow to accumulate on it. As I said, there are more ways to avoid snow as heated driveways and other stuff that can be done, but that has to do with building department that we're willing to try and discuss in order to make sure that snow is not being accumulated. But yeah, I do believe this is a building thing, and when it comes to the minor variances, when it comes to what we're looking for, I do think it's good for the future of the street to have less cars on the streets. I do think it's going to help solve a lot of those traffic issues that were just presented by the person on the opposition, I'm assuming Mary. And yes, if you have any other question, I'll be happy to answer.
Okay, panel members, do you have any questions? Mr. Bayat.
Thank you, Chair. On the site plan that we're looking at, that's the proposed one. The stairs leading into the house are moved to the side, yes, which then sits on the mutual right of way. Assuming that happened, how would the neighbor just to the bottom part of this particular drawing access the right of way?
That's a great question. So what we're not shown on the site plan, unfortunately, is the neighbor's house. So the neighbor actually has a site addition there, a small site addition, and they're not able to use that right of way for parking. Yes, I think the survey could be able to show that.
The only challenge is that if they do want to use it at some point,
so they have an entrance on the side as well.
What would you do with the proposed stairs?
So as I said, the neighbor also has stairs on the right of way and a little addition. So you can see there on the site plan. So this is not being used for parking, not from the neighbor side and not from the homeowner side. And yes, so this is definitely is not a problem when it comes to our proposal.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, the picture there could show, you can see the addition and you can see the stair on the neighbor side. And by the way, you can see also our entrance, how big and obnoxious it is. And this is basically one thing that I really think that would help the transportation department and urban forestry in the future when it comes to trees and everything else, is if this staircase is eliminated and we could have just a nice entrance on the side. Also for the street view, just going to make it look a little better.
Any other questions, panel members? Mr. Cheng?
It seems like almost all of your neighbor has a parking pad at the front of the house.
Yes, sir.
Your lot is relatively narrow, and because it is a slope and you do need the staircase to go up to your house, I think it's understandable why you need the front pad parking, but the staircase is an issue. I don't quite understand. See, that is actually outside of your property line, right? That is why it is called a right of way. Am I correct? Like, where's the property line? Is it the middle?
So the property line is actually a center line.
The center line, I see.
Yes, so that's actually on our property.
So even if we give you the approval, your neighbor could have, I mean, the building department will really challenge you on that.
So actually we spoke with the building department, if I may answer that, and they are the one that actually proposed that solution. Due to the fact that the right-of-way cannot be used, the right-of-way is there to be able to park at the back of the house, to have parking pods or to have garages. Due to the fact that the neighbor built whatever they built on their side, clearly this right-of-way is not very practical and is not working. The right-of-way is not there to park cars on it, because you cannot park a car half on the neighboring property. Therefore, because they kind of deleted this option to use the right-of-way and built whatever they built, automatically it cannot be functioned as the right-of-way. Therefore, what we're proposing actually is not in the way. It would be in the way if it was a parking pad or if it was a driveway, but it is not.
Right. And if I'm looking at the Google map, they basically have paved their part, right? They use it as a driveway. Or they just park it over there, basically.
Which is illegally, because it's actually encroaching into the property of of my client.
Right, and you want
but
to
they do, but they really don't. We actually did the survey. When we did the survey, we've been there for a few days to actually see whether this parking is being used. It's not being used, and all the parking is done on the street, as the lady that was speaking, Mary, was explaining. So therefore, I do believe it's a very positive change to the street.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, let's take it into committee then. Mr. Nipfel and then Mr. Bayat.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'm unable to support this application for a couple of reasons. One, I don't think that the landscaping is reasonable. There's an objection from forestry, which I take seriously. And one of the speakers mentioned as well, there's very little soft landscaping in the community, and in this case, we'd be adding to an existing problem. I was having the same problem that Aaron was with that stairway, and I don't buy the fact that that's going to be permitted. It is a right-of-way. Right-of-way means that both property owners have a right to passage through that space. And putting a stairway there seems to offend what a right-of-way is all about. So I guess I'm following up on what Aaron said. I think that's a serious problem with the application. I can appreciate that the owners want parking, but I don't think, given the narrowness of this property, I just don't think it's feasible. So I'm going to be unable to support the application.
Mr. Bayat?
Thank you, Chair. I echo everything that both Aaron and Carl have said, and I think the proposed site plan that we had a look at, I think, just doesn't make any sense at all. It is very unfortunate that this house is where it is and the size that it is. It's one of those site-specific circumstances. I'd like to move for a motion to refuse.
Okay, we have a motion to refuse the application. Do I have a seconder? Okay, Mr. Nipfel seconds, so that's moved by Mr. Bayat, seconded by Mr. Nipfel. All in favor? That carries unanimously. I'm sorry, but the application's been refused. Item number 42, 122 Highborn Road. We have before us a copy of the minutes from the April 26th public hearing, copy of plan of survey, revised site plan, floor plans and elevations, covering letter from the agent, summary letter prepared by Mr. Morris, the solicitor. We have staff report from tree protection, plan review, and we have, and I'm sorry, forestry is asking for conditions 1 and 2, and we have support from 140, 102, 169, 170, 174, 179, 176, and 181 Highborn Road. And then we have a letter from Mr. Flett, who I believe represented residents at the previous hearing, and that there's no position being taken by his clients at this time. Okay, do we have the agent on the line? I don't show any opposition speakers.
Wayne, you've been unmuted, and you may turn on your video.
Mr. Morris, are you there? If not, try Mr. Kalustian. He is? No, I can't. You're muted.
Wayne, try unmuting yourself.
Still can't hear you.
Microphone check.
Not, yeah, hang on. Say something else. I think I can
Yes,
hear.
how, can you hear us now?
Yep, I can
Yeah.
hear you now. If you can identify yourself for the record, and then there may be some questions for you.
All right, thank you. I'm sorry for the technical difficulties there. My name is Morris, M-O-R-R-I-S, initials S-W. I'm a lawyer acting as agent for the applicants, and I'm assisted here as well by the architect, Mr. Kalustian, K-A-L-O-U-S-T-I-A-N.
All right, thank you very much. Panel members, do you have any questions for Mr. Morris or Mr. Kalustian? Mr. Bayat.
Just with regard to the oversized driveway, which the size is not such an issue, but it's a heated asphalt driveway. Is that going to be something that's permeable?
Hello, Mr. Wyatt. Can you just, I didn't hear you that well. Can you rephrase that again, please? Or repeat it?
Sure. I'm sorry if I'm not sure if my internet's having a little hiccup. The heated asphalt driveway, is that going to be a permeable material? Permeable asphalt? Because I know we can have permeable asphalt as well.
Well, we didn't have any intentions of making it permeable. I mean, from my experience, normally we decide to do permeable for impacting any southtscaping variances or anything that actually impacts the water flow, but we had no intentions to do so.
Thank you.
Anyone else have any questions? Mr. Niffel?
Just a comment. I'd like to compliment Mr. Morris for his letter. It was very helpful.
Oh, well, thank you very much. I should add that, Madam Chairman, you listed a number of the letters of support. You didn't list them all because we have 11 altogether. I'm not sure which ones were overlooked, but in my correspondence of July 5, I've listed them all.
Okay. I just go by the sheet I'm handed that's got all the street
Right.
addresses listed, so, but we'll take your word for it. I think I was on the one last time when it was deferred, and if I recall, there was a lot of opposition, and nobody seems to be here now, so looks like you've worked with the neighbors in any case.
Yes, we have. We had an exchange of correspondence, and the bottom line there, as you indicated, Mr. Flett, who acted for the neighbors, indicates that the neighbors now, quote, take no position with respect to the application.
Any other questions, panel members? Okay, Mr. Morris, I'm not seeing any other questions. Anything you want to add before we take it into committee for a decision?
No, thank you, Madam Chairman.
Okay. Panel members, we're in committee. Aaron, you want to take this one?
Yeah, I would love to. Thank you. So I think it is a very straightforward application. I understand that it's good to have the permeable paving, but if not, that's acceptable as well. And I can make a motion to approve this application.
I believe there's forestry 1 and 2.
Forestry, forestry staff report 1 and 2, please.
Okay, and Carl seconds that motion. So motion to approve with the forestry conditions, moved by Mr. Cheng, seconded by Mr. Niffel. All in favor? That carries unanimously. Our final item today, item 43, 78 Benson Avenue. We have before us a copy of the draft minutes from the June 28th public hearing, copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. And we have correspondence in opposition from 209 Ellsworth Avenue. Also show this individual listed as an opposition speaker. Yeah. All right, Mr. Shakiri.
326 Shepherd Avenue East, for the record.
Okay, sir, can you do a brief presentation, no more than 5 minutes, and maybe let us know what happened since the deferral, and then we'll go to the opposition.
Sure, as you mentioned, we were before this panel 2 weeks ago. We had to defer it because of a variance that we had requested, and it wasn't appearing on the public notice. So thanks to staff, it was recirculated. The missing variance, which is number 4 on the notice before you, is speaking about the rear yard landscaping. And I have submitted some evidence in support to basically demonstrate that what we are requesting for the floor space index is not setting a new precedent. It's very moderate and less than the recent approvals in the area. So is for the side yards. This is a renovation. We are adding, as it's clear on the site plan, we are adding to the rear portion of the of an existing building. If you can turn the page to the site plan, please. The first page of my drawing, I guess, or maybe the second. Yes, that's the page. And we have a very small patio on the back side. The reason, and as you can see, the rest is sod. The reason the calculation for the rear soft landscaping is less than what's required is because the garage area, that existing garage area, and all those buffer to the lane and the sides is all calculated on the hard surface. So we have proposed a very small patio on the back side. That's why we're requesting for number 4. I don't have any more explanations, and I'm happy to answer any question. Thank you.
I think we'll hold our questions till we hear from the opposition.
Judy, you've been unmuted, and you may turn on your video.
Okay. Oops. Good afternoon, everybody.
Hi, Judy. Just state your name and address for the record, and then you have 5 minutes.
Okay, my name's Judy Weinberg. I live at 209 Ellsworth Avenue in Toronto. My property is kind of like perpendicular or kitty corner to the property on Benson in question. My only concern is actually the removal of a large mature cherry tree that's in the backyard of the property. And I just wanted to find out if that tree is going to remain or if it's going to be removed.
Okay, well, let's ask Mr. Shakiri.
I believe that the tree that Judy's mentioning is the one that is closer to the garage. I think the staff can look at it. Yeah, that is going to remain. We have no reason to remove that. And as she mentioned, it's a beautiful tree. It is going to stay, and we have no plans to remove it.
Okay, panel members, do you have any questions? Okay, Mr. Shakiri, we're ready to go into committee. Anything you want to add?
Nothing to add. No, thank you.
Okay, and there is forestry condition number 2, I believe. Okay, we're in committee. Aaron, you want to take the last one?
Yes, I was going to suggest that.
Well, I beat you to it, so there you go.
Thank you so much. Yeah, so I think the application is very well thought out. It's very straightforward and acceptable. I would like to make a motion to approve it, subject to forestry condition number 2.
Okay, I need, yeah.
Is it number 2? Yes, it's number 2.
Number 2? Oh.
Yeah, is it number 2, Sabrina? We're just confirm with you. That's what I have.
Yep.
Not sure. Yep, it is. Okay. Do I have a seconder for Mr. Cheng's motion? Carl? So that's moved by Mr. Cheng, seconded by Mr. Nipfel. All in favor? That carries unanimously. Committee stands adjourned at 6:53 p.m. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Great job, Sharon.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.
See you next time. Bye-bye.
Thanks to your team, Sabrina.
Yeah,
Anytime.
thanks, Sabrina. Okay.
Take care all.
Bye.